this is how women have been represented in media for decades, and kind of flipping the script on that, and kind of like, you know, I don't want to say like fighting fire with fire, but like kind of like a mirroring of sorts, like this is how it feels. But also too, then you as a woman being able to see yourself in the character of Ken, right? Because those are things in a patriarchal society that you are experiencing. And so then when it goes to the patriarchal society and kind of like flipping the script and whatnot, I was really hoping at the end of the movie, I felt like that was a really good moment to kind of like bringing to light and touching on that the matriarchy that then puts down the men of that society is no better in the end to the patriarchy. Like that is not the solution, is the complete opposite, right? The solution is somewhere in the middle. And I wish that was
the message.
Yeah. And I think to your point, using Ken's character more in order to convey that.
It doesn't benefit us to continue this polarized conversation of men versus women, right? Because we want to be together.
Right.
Men and women want to be together. It makes more sense to figure out how to do that versus conforming to these. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Intellectual Podcast, where we're just putting a little nuance in the polarized conversation of the internet.
That was so staccato.
Man, Every time I try to switch it up so it's not so monotonous, you know?
Yeah.
I'm your host, Jem.
And I'm Renee.
And we're talking about something very interesting. I'm just going to put a little disclaimer before we get going, though. But I'm in a weird time. Okay. Weird things happening in my life at the moment. So if my energy is chaotic and weird and different, going through some shit. But I'm still here. We're having a conversation.
You're still here. You still remember to wear pink when I didn't.
Yeah, I was in it. See, my life is falling apart and I can still hold it together. What is your excuse, Renee? What is your excuse?
I'm just living in the stars.
Yeah. Her life is too good to focus on reality.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Crazy. Happy for you, though.
Thanks.
Love that. Love
right.
that for you.
I'm like, you're like, my life sucks right now, but please talk more about how great life is for you.
Living vicariously through your experience, please.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so that's why I may not sound as energetic as I usually do. Yeah. But the conversation is pretty cool because we saw the Barbie movie.
Yes. We did a little double date. Was it a week ago?
About a week ago.
I'm so upset that I walked into that situation.
I'm never not going to do that. So keep saying week ago. I dare you.
Anyways, so about a fortnight.
About a fortnight ago.
A fortnight?
Yeah, it really was actually less than a fortnight. A fortnight is 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, got you. Less than a fortnight ago. I'm like being really careful.
I'm not going to say
I know. That'd be really annoying if you did. Which that was fun because we have been talking about doing a double date pretty much ever since me and Matt have been together.
Even before then.
Yeah. But I never was like, you know.
You never really as committed to the.
I was never
Good to find that out after all this time. I was so down this entire time.
Well, I've always been down, but I think before Matt, the things were never as serious or serious enough to warrant being like, let's go on a double date.
I think
at
that's
least
why
from my
you take
point
that
of view.
shit super seriously.
I just I'm not going to bring you on. You can hang out with my friends, but I'm not going to go on a double date unless that's me personally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I would take, if second date with a person, I'll double date with my best friend. Why not?
Interesting. For sure. I mean, yeah. Teach their own. Teach their own. But yeah, we finally did it.
Did it. Woo!
And it was fun. And I'm glad it was the Barbie movie. I feel like that was I think the double date never happened because the universe knew that this was the moment. And I feel like this is the perfect double date for us to go on to go see the Barbie movie.
Sure.
I'm so serious. It could not have been more perfect.
Oh my God.
You have no. Anyways,
I'll let you have it. It's fine.
Yeah.
We don't need an elaboration on that. It's perfect. It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was very fun.
We dressed up for it. Hot pink babies.
We did the pink situation.
And we saw that beautiful movie and everything that it was. And if you've seen it, then you know exactly where we're going with this because there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah. There's a lot to converse about. And speaking of converse, not to be mad tangential today, but apparently conversate is actually a word.
Yay!
I know how I always correct you, right?
Yeah, you did correct me live on air.
Oh, did I?
You did. It was in it was in an episode.
Recorded. Well,
and I was like, well, it sounds better
yeah,
in my brain.
I'm doubling back, and I'm not going to apologize.
I was going to say, I'm ready for the apology.
Nope, you don't. No.
No.
I'm admitting that I'm wrong. That should be good enough.
Oh, whatever.
How often do I do that? All the time when I'm wrong.
You're actually pretty good at admitting when you're wrong, so it's actually not an issue at all.
Oh my god! So conversate is actually a word. It's just not an official word. The official word is converse, but conversate is like the colloquial way to say it.
I was gonna say, is it one of those things like as like language evolves, like it's first as like a slang word or something that people use, and when it becomes popular enough, it then like we have no choice but to then induct it as a word.
Exactly.
Except
in the dictionary. Conversate is not in the dictionary.
But soon it will be.
Probably not. But we all know what it means.
Or what is it? Funnier or funny? Is that what it was? Where it's like, no, it's more funny. Or is that the example where people would always correct you? It's like, it's not funny. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
It's like funner.
Yes, funner. There we go. That was the one. It's funner. And it's like, no, it's more fun. That's what it was. And it's like, people say it enough where it eventually just like becomes accepted as like a appropriate word to use. Right. Essentially.
Right. I hate English.
That's just how language is.
I know. It's just so annoying. Like, oh my goodness, all these things. But there's a lot of cool stuff to conversate/converse about.
Yeah.
And we're going to unpack that movie to its entirety.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. We have things to say.
Very fun thing. I think you guys will really enjoy this conversation because where we take it is pretty cool.
I think it's unexpected.
Ooh, mysterious. Yeah, we'll leave you guys with that one. Oh my god.
We're going to talk about it.
But before that, little pop culture thing that's going on right now.
Yes.
Did you hear the thing about Lizzo?
You know what? Vaguely, yeah. As I was falling asleep last night, Matthew turned to me and was like, Lizzo is getting sued because of her forcing her dancers to do something at a club in Amsterdam.
She was doing some wild things. Apparently, she is a horrible boss to work with. She is mad cantankerous. She fat shames her employees. She makes a bunch of sexual remarks to them. She is trying to convert these people to Christianity. She shames them for premarital sex, and she takes them to strip clubs without them knowing what's going on and forces them to fondle the strippers.
Allegedly.
No, like, this is what she's being sued for.
That's insane. Yeah, I mean, I heard that there was something, because I was like there may have been like one of the dance, like there's like the dance squad that tours with Lizzo, and the dance team leader, I don't know, whatever her name is also being sued. It's like Lizzo.
Oh, they're both. I thought the dance leader was suing Lizzo.
Maybe. Ooh, that confusion.
Yeah, it's either the dance leader suing Lizzo or they could be both being sued.
But either way, Lizzo is like being sued as well, you know.
And I'm mad because I stayed defending her all the time.
That's just like not at all. It's just why, like, if this is true, the way that she has presented herself and these allegations are so unaligned. Yeah. It's like, God, people can really like not be who you think they are. And that's super scary.
You can really just be, they can really show you what they want you to see.
No, 100%.
And be completely different on the other side. Like Ellen DeGeneres, right? Same type of situation. She portrays this funny little social, and then behind the scenes, she's a monster.
Right,
apparently
right. Horrible
Oprah
boss.
Winfrey as well, but I'm not going to
don't
run
speak
Oprah's
about
name.
my,
Exactly.
right.
I was like, I'm not running Oprah's name through the mud. It's
let
not
her
about
live.
her right now.
Right. It's not about her.
Mama Oprah? No.
Not Mama Oprah.
I don't even care. Say what you want to say about that. But Lizzo, go to hell.
Yeah,
I don't care about all that stuff. I mean, like I said, you know how I feel about these things I feel about. I'm not going to explain what I feel about all these things I feel about. But I went beside myself to be reasonable in these situations for a person that apparently did not deserve any of this empathy.
Apparently.
No, I don't care. But you know, it's not surprising because a person who would go dress up scantily clad at a baseball game or a football or basketball game.
Oh, and she had like her cheeks out.
Yeah. And not care around all those kids and whatnot.
Yeah.
Can't be a person that's right in the head. And you know what? I thought I was also a little swept up in the whole female empowerment. She's making a statement type narrative thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let her do what she wants to do. No, we should have put our foot down. We should have drew the line as soon as we saw it. What were we doing? Why did we allow this?
Signs. They
were. Now it's starting. Nah, I can't be surprised. Right. I'm just upset that I didn't stand my ground.
Right. Damn. You feel betrayed.
I feel upset.
Yeah.
I feel upset, and I'm never going to do that shit ever again.
Never.
I don't care.
Never give someone the benefit of the doubt.
Never, no. Never again.
She took advantage of that.
I mean, no celebrities. Let's.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No celebrities the benefit of that. If you just don't align with my worldview as a celebrity, I'm going to say what I say about you. I don't care.
For sure. I mean, you definitely don't have to interact with, because most celebrities are not right in the head, probably.
Yeah. Oof. Damn. As we encroach our own little celeb moment.
Yes.
We're not right in the head either. So
right. Exactly. So that's why we're here with the podcast, stating our thoughts, because we have, what is it? Inflated sense of self.
You kind of have to do this.
In order to
you kind of have to think you have something to say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. 100%.
There has to be a correlation between ego and...
at least we're aware of it.
Does that make it better? Honestly, it's fine.
I don't know.
I'm not going to unpack that right now. That's not what we're talking about.
No. We're talking about Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about Barbie. Boyfriend, girlfriend?
Girlfriend, boyfriend.
Boyfriend. See, now...
It makes complete sense now, and I love it. I love it now. Before I hated it. I still kind of hate it, honestly, to be honest.
It's so hilarious. The way, he's like, she's like, what are we going to do? Just the complete innocence of that, and of that scene. It's just hilarious, because it's literally when I saw that scene, I guess we're going to start talking about Barbie. When I saw that scene, I was just like, that's literally what we would do as kids. Or you would just place when Barbies when to bed and the couples Ken and Barbie, you would just place them on top of each other, just lay them on top, face to face, and then all right. That's what happens.
Again,
that's how you make babies. You kiss, you lay flat.
I mean, that's really kind of what happens.
Yeah. Got you. I mean, yeah, if you have a boring ass sex life.
And most people don't shame them.
You know what? Actually, people go through seasons. This is true.
No, actually, I'm gonna redact that. Actually, I just read a book. The book I'm reading says some kinks need to be shamed. We need to stop not shaming people, because things need to be shamed.
Honestly, I do say this all the time about bullying.
Oh yeah, bring back bullying, right? Are we saying the same thing? Okay, same page. That'd be crazy if it wasn't, right? I really want to stop bullying. Bring that shit back. Run it back.
No, literally, there is some character development in being publicly shamed by your peers.
Yeah, a necessary amount of socialization.
Yeah,
now, I'm
obviously
not saying we're about to bring it back at the same time. No, I'm not saying Chad needs to slam you into lockers and shove your head in the toilet, right? But to define so much of that peer shaming as bullying is a little unproductive and a little unhelpful for the youth that are growing up today, because again, I stopped doing a lot of things because people were making fun of me for it.
Rightfully so.
And in retrospect, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have been doing. I'm glad that those people were doing those things to me, because throwing rocks at girls.
Was that what you were doing?
Yeah, as a little child.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and I know that now, right? But
or just even me and my sisters, when my little sister went through a really bad makeup phase, I bullied the fuck out of her. You look horrible.
You look like a clown.
You need to change your makeup. It does not look good. And in hindsight, she cringes so badly at those. And in the moment, she was like, no, it's fine.
I mean, it might be. You're fine.
Exactly.
You're a hater.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, girl, please. I'm helping you.
No, I'm trying to help you. So
it's a necessary social tool.
Yeah, if you're wearing, my friend, he said he started wearing deodorant when a girl was like, you smell so bad, right?
Yeah. Necessary
social improvements. again, we learn through our mistakes. We learn through our embarrassment. These are emotional triggers that attach these core memories to ourselves, so that we never do those things ever again.
Yes.
Homeboy has never not wore deodorant for the rest of his life.
Right. Now he smells good as he should.
And he's into cologne and everything. He's a little traumatized. But like,
maybe a little too much.
Yeah, but like it way. These are good, the positive socialization because people are being made fun of. And now you can't say nothing without being suspended.
Now you got kids walking around smelly as shit and they don't even know it.
Come on.
Or they know it and they think it's okay.
And they think it's okay. That's the thing. They know and they think it's fine because no one's ridiculing them.
Oh my gosh.
Bring back bullying 2024.
2024.
Yeah. And like on top of that, these are all stages of life. Yeah. Right? These are all stages of life.
Exactly.
And you have to go through your little axe phase, your little fedora phase. You can get to like the phase that you actually know and you like it matters and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And part of that process is getting a little ridiculed for what you know.
Maybe I should have publicly shamed him in that moment.
Not as an employee.
Not as an adult.
No.
Not as an adult to a child.
Right. Ma'am, what are you getting out of this?
Oh,
bring back bullying 2024 and I will take matters into my own hands.
Walks onto like random high school campuses.
Come on now, get a job.
That's so unnecessary.
Yo, peer-to-peer bullying. Adults, worry about yourself because we can clown you too.
Oh my God.
No.
That is hilarious.
Don't harass children for the love of God. Please leave these poor kids alone. They have enough to worry about without you grown-ass people. Talk about.
That is so funny. All right. I'm done with my tangent. we can get on to the actual episode. Your question of the week.
Yeah, the question of the week is a question I'm going to ask at the end of the podcast.
Oh,
because
you're holding out on us.
Yeah, a little bit. Only because it makes more sense within the context of where we're going to take this conversation. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. There's a little something to look forward to.
Wait. No, you just completely.
Why did you commit? Why did you commit to it?
I don't know how to explain that. Just something turned off in my brain as I was trying to like.
Oh my God.
I don't know what happened there. Anyways.
Humor is so hard for you.
Yeah. I just lost the ability to speak.
The universe was like, no.
Oh my
Whatever you're trying to do, just stop doing it.
Yeah. Anyways. So are we going to officially get into the Barbie conversation?
The Barbie movie. I split this up into 3 parts, right?
Yes.
The good, the bad, and the neutral.
Yes.
The good, the bad, and the neutral. Because I don't want this to come across as like a crazy Barbie critique.
Yeah, right.
Because primarily, I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great movie. Mm-hmm. And just like most people on Rotten Tomatoes, 81% right now.
Good score.
People enjoyed the movie. I was laughing. It was satire, so you have to take it with a grain, right? Mm-hmm. And then it was filmed really, really well.
Yeah.
It was the outfits on point.
Yeah. The whole like stage. Yeah, the staging of it.
On point. The transitions between the real world and Barbie. How like they did it in reverse and it was like funny.
So fun. And like, playful.
Playful. Yeah. The overall character arc, Barbie's character arc was really good. Yeah. They did a good job with her except for the last little thing at the end, which I was like, okay, like, and I'll talk about that too, about how they utilize humor and stuff like that. Yeah. Right? But great movie, great moments, impeccable acting.
Yes, I would agree.
Impeccable acting.
Ryan Gosling as Ken was just amazing.
It's what we didn't realize that we needed. Oh man, what a great job. He plays a douchebag a little too well.
Too well. It's so funny to see, like, as, you know, Ryan Gosling is playing Ken, people are, like, referencing all of these old interviews that he did, like, back in, like, the 90s, 2000s.
Whoa.
Because I think that's when he's been acting for since then,
since
for
he was
sure.
Like a kid or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and maybe early 2000s. I'm not exactly sure, but in that range. And the way that he would like flirt with like the interviewers was just so like. And obviously, all the comments are like, Ryan Gosling has had Riz like since he was like young,
right?
And then obviously the reference to the very famous dancing video when he was like a literal like child, probably like 8 or 9 years old, and he was in the purple outfit.
I kind of remember that.
And he was doing that, so it's just like it's so funny where people are just like, Ryan Gosling has always been Ken. Like this is like the peak of like he has been acting for this role.
Everything was leading to Ken.
Everything was leading up to Ken, 100%. So it's so funny.
I would be remiss to not believe that because it's exactly how it seemed.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was made for the role.
Yeah.
Which is funny because before I saw the movie, I was like, why is this old?
There was a lot of controversy around it.
Like, you're too old to be Ken. Ken and Barbie are like early 20s.
Yeah, like young, no wrinkles on their face.
I thought Margot Robbie was way too old to play Barbie too. I thought they were like not making space for decent younger actors to fill in roles that were my like, high horse for some reason. Like,
you're like, give these young actors a chance.
Like, I'm so uninvolved in that conversation, but I felt that strongly about it. And then I saw the movie, I was like, oh, that's why they cast these people. Like they're so good.
They just like made sense for what it was, what the movie needed. They could give and more. Yeah, like, you know,
exactly.
And they did.
And the cameos were cool too.
Yeah, right? All like it was a jam-packed cast.
Very loaded cast. Yeah, very loaded. The dude from Shang-Chi was over there. Simu Liu. Saying his name is like a tongue twister for me.
Yeah,
I think it's Simu Liu.
I wasn't sure of his name.
Michael Cera, Issa Rae,
yes,
America Ferrera.
Oh, America, and she has. I feel like I haven't seen her in a minute personally, in like stuff. So it's nice to see a familiar
like
face.
Betty days.
Oh, I know, no, literally, like I feel like I haven't seen her since that. Yeah. Like, or who else?
Will Ferrell. Even though he contributed literally nothing to the movie.
No. But apparently he was a great joy to have on set.
He always is. It's Will Ferrell.
It's Will Ferrell, of
I
course.
have never heard anyone not like working with him. They always say he's like the funniest person on the planet. But just like, again, for the movie.
Yeah.
Was he necessary?
I like hearing like the people saying how enjoyable he was on set and like how the cast was talking about him in interviews and like saying like how he really brought up the morale and just everything when he was there. I was expecting or hoping for more from his character, or just assuming more from his character. But it was just kind of like, nah, I couldn't care less, I guess, about it.
Which brings me to the first critique.
We're going to talk about the critiques already?
Why not?
Well, I wanted to talk about my fun facts. Fun facts first. Well, they're not really fun facts. They were just things that blew my mind, that I was like, oh, I didn't make that connection when I was first watching the movie. The first one being that the beginning montage, the introduction to the Barbie movie, was the Space Odyssey.
Yeah, the 2001's A Space Odyssey.
And maybe because I've never seen the Space Odyssey, I'm not like as
that's why you didn't get the reference.
Right, as I'm like trying to review a film right now, I've never been that big of a film buff where I've watched the Space Odyssey.
Didn't even see the greatest movie of all time.
Apparently,
Crazy.
Yeah, I have not. But it was a reference to that. The second thing that I was fascinated by
this is the one I like too.
Yeah, was that, which I'm so upset that I did not notice this at first, but the scene when Barbie walks into the middle school, like the outdoor cafeteria, and walks up to the daughter, Sasha. That should have been my freaking clue.
I know, as a fan of these people, apparently, as a diehard fan.
Anyways, walks up and it's a group of 4 girls and she's like the ringleader and is talking to them, blah, blah, and they say their names. That was representing the Bratz dolls and they were acting like little brats. It literally makes so much sense and I'm so upset that I did not catch it in the moment because I was a big Bratz doll girl.
Yeah,
I think
that's the thing that's weird, is like, if you were so involved in that, why don't you know that
I know
those were brats?
I just like wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it, so I guess that's probably why.
And it's a really subtle and very cool reference.
Yeah, exactly. I enjoyed that they included that because the Bratz dolls is also such like a big brand. that was really impactful for like young girls.
Yeah, they're like the legacy of Barbie.
Yeah, exactly. They're more because we were talking about this, and even I was talking about this with my roommate, who she's a little older. She's 30, about to be 34. And she has like a whole like Barbie collection, and it's like really cool. She was showing me like some of the Barbies that she has, and like I definitely liked Barbie, but Bratz was like the thing that every girl wanted. If you had Bratz dolls, like you were
the cool girl.
Exactly. Like that was more like my like Barbie still had, they were like the classics, but anyway. So I was very upset that I missed that, but it was very cool. I'm glad they included that little like Easter egg, if you will.
Easter egg situation.
into that. So very good.
I thought the beginning of the movie was really good too.
Yeah.
I thought that was a perfect representation of like Barbie in their entirety and where the messaging for women was going.
Yeah.
And how everything was real but very fake but very perfect, and like the feet with the heels and like the floating down.
It was so satisfying.
This is how I would imagine. That, I think, was the perfect representation of what I'd imagine playing with Barbies is like.
Like what you could imagine.
Because obviously, disclaimer, in case you didn't realize this, I've never once played with a Barbie in my life. I know, shocking.
And you were literally like you have all brothers. So there's like, you were never really interacted with Barbies like that at all.
I mean, all my cousins, most of them girls, I had the whole Barbie collection situation. I saw the wall of Barbies and boxes and stuff like that. Don't play with these. These are going to be worth so much money in like the future type stuff.
Totally.
So like I do get the... You
were exposed to it.
I knew a Barbie. Like, I ripped off her clothes and saw that there was like nothing under there. Like, I've never not touched a Barbie before, but I wasn't like playing house and all that stuff by Barbies.
Totally.
Because... socialization and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just a good representation. Like, I can see this. This is like the little teacups and stuff like that, and like the no doors and the waking up perfect and all that stuff. And
it brought me so much joy to watch it. Yeah.
Vicariously, because you kind of know that the person that is creating this is a little nostalgic for it. Yeah. So you can really feel the nostalgia permeates the scene. Yeah. Totally. It's really cool. And then Ken is introduced, and then the entire movie kind of snowballs from there. Well,
I liked Ken in the beginning as well. I mean, I thought like his, like all the jokes around Ken, like boyfriend, girlfriend.
No, that like, entire part is what I'm talking. The way the thing
like,
is
my job is beach. I freaking loved that. My job is I've been saying ever since then. I've been saying it all the time. I think I even it's not tweeted it. When you post on Threads, I don't know what it's called.
Ooh, we don't have a word for that yet. When you
thread it, I don't know. I don't know. I did something. I typed it in the text box and I put it up.
You're on Threads, like on your personal account?
Yeah. Guys, check me out.
Hey, yo.
I'm on Threads.
Jesus
Christ. I have things to say. No, I'm not on it that much, but I'm definitely on it. And I like posted like pictures of me at the beach, and I was like, I don't know. I said something to effect of like,
my job is beach.
My job is beach.
Which was like all
so
fine.
Much.
I thought the plot started being weird as soon as
he went into the real world.
Or like that transition into the real world. Like I thought her commentary like, oh, have you ever thought about dying, and everything got weird? Like, oh, cool, interesting. I wish it followed that logical progression, because once her feet started getting flat, and then she wanted to go to the real world, she talked to Weird Barbie.
Yeah, loved Weird Barbie.
Weird Barbie was a great character. She made absolutely no sense.
No, I thought she made perfect sense.
Really?
Yes, 100%.
Oh, man.
I think that is you just not understanding playing with Barbies.
Yeah.
I think that is it. I think that is like your male perspective.
That is
because she made literally all the sense. Like that, like if Will Ferrell made absolutely no sense in this movie, Weird Barbie made perfect sense. When I look at her, I think of my little sister. My little sister was the person who cut up Barbie's hair. We never let her play with us because she ruined. And now I look back, I'm like, damn, she had such an imagination. She was such a special, but she would be like, dragons then came in and ripped her head off.
Like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. That didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
So for my sister's sake, I Weird Barbie just like made me laugh. I absolutely love that. And it's it's just so great. But yeah, I do see kind of like right before, kind of when they then go into the real world, I could see then what things got weird. I also didn't mind that. I thought it was so funny that Ken thought horses ruled man. That he had such an obsession with horses. That really funny to me. I thought was wonderful. I thought it was very comedic and hilarious, and I loved that. Of like his interpretation of patriarchy. They're like men and horses.
And
I was like,
and trucks.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
And I thought that was really funny. Because men do really love their horses.
Horses are very masculine.
Yeah, they are.
I've never seen a person not look masculine while riding a horse.
Yeah.
Even women.
Yeah, including women. Yeah,
It's very like you're controlling a whole animal, like
right,
that can't
and a
not,
large animal as well.
Huge animal. Horses are scary.
Yeah, horses are scary.
So like, you have that thing by the reins. It's like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
really taking charge.
Yeah,
I love it. But yeah, I think same as you. Like I walked away from the movie being like, I enjoyed it, but I wanted like I left the movie theater wanting more from it, feeling as if the movie like scratched, like there was an itch that scratched, but it didn't satisfy the itch. It just made me itchy.
it gave you itches.
Probably a horrible analogy to use.
What were you doing? This movie. You're itchy, ma'am.
It like created an itch. It didn't like satisfy an itch. It created an itch.
Yikes! Go get yourself checked. Oh my goodness!
Look, that was the first thing that came to mind. It felt right in the moment. I'm sticking with it.
Gotta do what you gotta do, man. I'm so sorry that you're itchy after watching that movie. I let the record show that I feel fine, not itchy at all. I use protection. It's great. It's great.
It's not what I mean.
That's what you said.
Oh my god.
That's not what I mean, but that's what you said.
But that's what you said. Anyways, whatever. God damn it. That being said, I do want to go into though like the themes that I did enjoy and that I wanted more from, and that way we can kind of like transition into kind of the critique. Because I did really enjoy like overall just the element of like the human experience. I'm like really into the human experience right now.
You gotta sell it. The what?
The human experience.
There you go. That's how she was saying it all day. Like, the human experience.
The human experience.
Yeah.
Film snob in training. Just let everyone know.
We're gonna start doing movie reviews way more often.
Yeah.
She's so excited.
Yeah, because these are great. I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. But yeah, I had a feeling that I would enjoy that aspect of it because there's the scene where Barbie like first goes into the real world and she's sitting on that bus stop bench and she's like looking around at people, and it's kind of just like this montage of just like peering into like these strangers' lives and these humans and them kind of going about their day to day. And I really enjoyed that theme kind of threaded throughout the film. Sorry, I'm just laughing at myself. Sorry. So that I thought was really cool. And then kind of even within that, these elements of like the mother and how, you know, this nostalgic factor of like you were once a young girl who just like existed in like this imagination in this dream world, and everything was beautiful and everything was perfect, and then you grow up and you're faced with the reality. Yeah, this scary reality, which is in this like in this world like patriarchy and your place as a woman, and what you were a young girl and you imagined that what life was going to be like for you, and then you're faced with what society actually expects from you, and those things being incredibly depressing. That reality, right?
Made her shed a tear, poor thing.
It did, and then kind of when they go into like, you know, when Barbie realized it was the mother that she had been being played with, and not the young girl, and then you're like, oh, the mother living vicariously through their young daughter to kind of tap back into that like childlike imagination. And I just thought that was like just such a beautiful thing. And I was saying to you, and I think you agreed, was that I I wish they did that more. Like they like really hammered in that more, like the mother. I don't know exactly how they would have done it.
Right.
Granted,
We are not directors or screenwriters or nothing.
I would
We're
hand
just
this
two
off.
people with an opinion and a microphone.
Literally, right. Take their mic away. I just wish they would kind of hammered even like the thread of like the human experience. I wish they kind of delved into that more, because there was certain, even like certain commentary or meanings about society that I took. I don't know if that was necessarily Greta Gerwig's like intention, but kind of the things that I gleaned from the movie. I wish they went into it more. Like I felt like it just and that's what I mean. Like I felt like there was like, it was almost surface level, not quite, but surface level in the way that it was. And I'm just like, I wish it was, I don't want to say like, I wish she wasn't like afraid. And I don't think she was afraid. I just wish there was like more like took a stance on something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're trying to say, because that's how I feel about the movie.
Yeah.
The exact same way. Because I think a lot of those themes, and there was a lot of beautiful themes, a lot of great commentary. Yeah. And I'll elaborate on what those things are like in my critique. Totally. But a lot of where she was taking an idea or a message was completely undercut for the sake of humor or some gag or some joke or something. And that's how I feel about a lot of or even like at the end of the thing where it's like, I want to be in the real world. There's all these things. They build up all this stuff about the human experience and like mothering and like being a woman and all this stuff. Woohoo, super cool. Now she's in the real world. And it all accumulates to a sex joke at the end of the movie. Like that's the last thing that we're left with. Yeah. Right? Like, oh, now I have a vagina. I'm a woman. Like now I have a vagina. Woohoo! Like you set up such a like that entire like 10-minute thing at the end of that. Was so beautiful and so expansive and so deep and profound. Yeah. And instead of leaving the audience with that, or like building on it further, he's like, I'm at a gynecologist.
Yeah. She's doing things. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I'm trying to think like what better way could it have been like resolved of her just kind of like wanting to like live as like a human, essentially.
Well, what they seem to be alluding to, when before they undercut it with a sex joke, I thought she was going to be like working in the company as a Barbie, and she looked like she was like dressed as an executive. She was in an executive building.
Like she was like going to like a job interview or something
like that. And then it's like, oh no, again, you could have made the connection of, oh, she's in the real world now and she's just as empowered. But instead, she's in the real world now and she has a vagina. Woohoo. Yeah. This is the extent of what we wanted, right? Yeah. That's what you're left with, and that's not what everything else was building up to. Yeah. But they did that for humor, and it was funny. Yeah. But it wasn't impactful. It wasn't meaningful in the way that it could have been.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying, because I was even like a little bit, I was even a little bit confused that she had even gone to the real world. I don't know exactly why, but like towards the end of the movie, like I just expected her, like after like the whole like, thing of them helping get back Barbie land and all that kind of stuff, I just assumed that she would stay in Barbie land. And I feel like that also like going back to like the use of American Ferrera's character, where I wish they maybe used her more in terms of getting that human experience. Like it's okay to feel like if I feel bad, it's all right. Like that whole like thing of like depressed Barbie or whatever.
Like if Ruth was talking to America instead of Barbie,
because
like as a real person, it affects us more.
And I think we are, as the audience, we're more so looking through American Ferrera's character's eyes, more so than Barbie's eyes, right? Barbie is the thing that we play with, literally. So like
it's the proxy for how we interact with these ideas.
Exactly. So if it ended with her character, American Ferrera's, talking to Ruth, the founder of the Barbie, I think that would have been more impactful than Barbie herself.
And two, and I'm going to elaborate on this point on what I thought was problematic. Her staying in Barbie Land probably would have been a more healthy resolution for what I would argue is better for male-female relationships than the separation and the resolution that they came to at the end of the movie.
Like with Barbie and Ken. Say more.
I will say more, but we have to say other things first.
Okay, gotcha. And what are those other things?
We're going to talk about just structure in the movie.
The structure of the movie.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the issues that or the critique that I have with it, or exacerbated. Exasperated.
Yes.
I don't know if that's right,
but
it's okay. It's fine.
I think it is.
It's fine. It really doesn't matter. But they were exasperated by the way that the film progressed, the logical flow of the film.
Okay.
I don't think that the plot was very strong, and the plot didn't really necessarily make sense with the overall structure of the movie. Like we were saying, love Will Ferrell, great actor.
Yeah.
Why was he in that?
Yeah, what was like the point of his character?
He contributed nothing to the movie.
Yeah.
And he went to Barbie Land, right? Did all this stuff. Everything was resolved by the time he got there.
Right.
Why was he necessary?
Right.
To make a pregnancy joke? Because that's all he did.
Maybe.
Everybody loved that.
I mean, I think the purpose of, I guess, Will Ferrell's character, and more so like the cabinet, not the cabinet, maybe that
peanut gallery, literally.
No, literally. The peanut gallery. Oh, that's so funny. But like basically like the CEO and like his people, that department, there's a name for that, I feel like.
Executive.
Yeah, the executives. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Is just kind of to demonstrate, and even I saw an interview of the founder of Barbie. She was giving an interview, like I think probably back in the 80s, talking about how when she was starting this and how the people she hired, the people she worked with that were in her company were all men. Like she was surrounded by men, essentially. Even just like as like a female CEO in that time, like you're pretty alone. Like you're pretty alone in that as a woman,
of course.
Especially when she started this. So I think it was more so as representation of like a somewhat like, you know, real world, human world, like who runs everything. Even these things that are so empowering to women, like represent so much the female experience, they're still at the top of the food chain, controlled by men. And I'm sure as well the fact that it was all white men in that room, that's like a nod to that as well, right? Who kind of controls like these structures, and what it like kind of then dwindles down to is like these men who like control these we like our collective like psyche. Like Barbie was such an impactful doll on like young girls and as they grew up and all this kind of stuff, like what it represented, and you know that is literally controlled by like men essentially.
Greta Victoria's Secret is a dude.
Right, exactly. All of these things that are women empowerment coded are controlled by men and primarily white men. And so that being maybe some sort of like secret nod to that. Maybe that was the only use of it and it was annoying otherwise.
It should have stayed there though.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have left the boardroom.
Right. Because I agree with that 100%. I would think that's perfectly cool because that little time that they had with Barbie going back in the box and all that stuff.
Go back in the box.
Cool, yeah.
It's fine.
How
How creepy.
Weird, strange, whatever.
Yeah.
Why are they going to Barbie Land? Why was that necessary when they contributed nothing to that?
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
So get the reference. That's actually a really good way to look at it. Should have stayed in the boardroom, like you said. Or at least in the office, because when they were running around and she met like the owner and she was like, oh, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. I thought that was a cool moment.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I thought it was funny, the little run sequence.
yeah, and they're like running in slow motion and stuff like that. Again, it was funny it was dumb, but it was like supposed to be dumb.
Yeah,
right?
totally,
So,
totally.
perfectly fine. Other than that, I don't know why they were necessary.
Yeah.
Then the whole like the satirical aspect of it, in the sense of it was a very obvious juxtaposition between like feminism and patriarchy.
Totally.
Whereas like the epitome of feminism is the matriarchal society that exists in Barbie land, and the real world is like the exact antithesis to that.
Yeah.
Right. So as soon as they walk out of Barbie land, I thought this was highlighted well with how Ken was interacting with the world, and like he discovered that it was possible to exist that way.
Yeah.
And like all the stuff that everyone was saying to Barbie as soon as they walked down, they're like making references and nods to it, like, oh, it seems like you're alluding to an entendre that has a double meaning. Like, yeah, so fun. Like I thought that was really well done. I thought that was an impactful scene. Yeah. But it worked in that moment, but in the entirety of the film, it's so out of place, right? Because like it was supposed to highlight like how men are treating women in the real world, and then really emphasize the way that Ken is experiencing all this newfound information. Right. But then they went with like, oh, Ken's taking this patriarchy back to Barbie land, and apparently this mecca of female empowerment was so unprepared for like the exposure to like male dominance that they succumbed to it. Like the so indigenous easily. People, this is the holy land for what women aspire to.
Sure, yeah.
Why is it so easy to control? Like what could he have possibly said and done? He was looking at pictures of horses, and he was like, beers and stuff like that. And like now women are so like into it. Like, yeah, I don't want to do anything, and I want to serve men. Right? I was like, plot wise, how does that make sense? How does that align? And then what did that really do for the movie? It started going to a place, which again, I'm going to talk about this more and more as we continue the conversation, where I don't think it was productive. Because why was Ken so frustrated? Why did he find this patriarchal real world so much more beneficial? What was his entire modus of operation the entire movie? He just wanted Barbie's attention. They comment on that at the end. Right. But from a different perspective as the audience, you just see that this man is not respected and not valued and not cared about. Yeah. And finally he's in the real world. It's like, wow, people like respect me. They consider me like actually a thing. He's she asked me the time. That's like so significant. This poor dude just wanted to be acknowledged. Right. And instead of going along that vein, keeping the satirical elements because they create a point. Right. Instead of like using that to further his character and bring that back to Barbie land as a means to reconcile the two opposing ends of this spectrum. Yeah. They make a complete and utter buffoonery out of this man and what he's trying to do, when all he wants is just a little acknowledgement. Yeah. Which he says at the, like, as the plot's going on, he just wants a little bit of acknowledgement. He just wants to be seen and heard and do all that stuff. And rather than highlight that as a good thing to want, and like you're just going about it the wrong way, that's not what you do, they again undercut it with humor and make him this big thing. It's like, no, the patriarchy is about horses and want to drink beer, want to stay up late and drive big cars and all that stuff. And it's like, oh my goodness. I definitely agree with you there. I think that was one of like because as the movie was going on, it was something that like a meaning that I was starting to see in the film that I wish like went harder, essentially, was because obviously Barbie Land is like this, utopia of like a matriarchal society. And then like, and even in some ways, like that was intentional, right? Ken being the himbo of like, the movie, and that him representing a lot of things, his character, but one of them being like, this is how women have been represented in media for decades, and kind of flipping the script on that, and kind of like, I don't want to say like fighting fire with fire, but like kind of like a mirroring of sorts, like this is how it feels. But also too, then you as a woman being able to see yourself in the character of Ken, right? Because those are things in a patriarchal society that you are experiencing. And so then when it goes to the patriarchal society and kind of like flipping the script and whatnot,
I was really hoping at the end of the movie when they were like, oh yeah, okay, the Kens can like come up into like, we'll give them jobs and whatnot and yada yada. Like, I felt like that was a really good moment to kind of like bringing to light and touching on that the matriarchy that then puts down the men of that society is no better in the end to the patriarchy. Like that is not the solution, is the complete opposite, right? The solution is somewhere in the middle. And I wish that was
the message.
Yeah. And I think to your point, using Ken's character more in order to convey that, right?
Rather than his entire character arc being making fun of men. Like that was the purpose of his character, which to an extent is fine. I can laugh at myself as much as the next dude. But if there's no positive reconciliation, because like like you were saying, he's the inverse representation of how women are represented. Represented? Now
we just adding syllables.
Represented in media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you see in all those movies, they have or I guess recently, they have a positive resolution.
Yeah, and that I think is just like a more like a recent thing. I think it's more like historically, like there's been movies that, you know, that have been like the audience is clearly this movie is for men, like made by men for men, right? And that kind of being like this movie being for women, made by women. And so that kind of being, and there's like, was nothing wrong with them like kind of flipping it on its head and making Ken this himbo.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And it made like it, I thought it was very cool and interesting. I just wish they like kind of brought it full circle a little bit more.
Completed the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
As they should have, because at the end of the day, like you said, the solution to the patriarchy isn't a matriarchy. And utilizing the strengths and weaknesses of both sides is what we want as a society. Right. We don't, it doesn't benefit us to continue this polarized conversation of men versus women, right? Because at least from the narrative and the perspectives that we are coming from, we want to be together. Right? Men and women want to be together. It makes more sense to figure out how to do that. Yeah. Versus conforming to these really, really aggressive sides of it, right? Yeah. It's like, no, the solution to all this oppression is to be the oppressors. Like,
it's like I don't
not quite. Yeah. Not quite, because we both need each other. Right. We both need each other. And I hated how at the end of it the resolution was Ken needs himself, right? Stop focusing all your attention on Barbie. Figure out what you want to do for Ken. While that message isn't wrong. Yeah. Right. It is very skillfully misplaced within the overall context of his character arc. Right. Because you can easily see that if you're so focused on this person that doesn't want you, then focus on yourself, and that will be the solution to that. Yeah. And that sounds really good in theory. Yeah. But it has to be in relation to the rest of the context. What is Ken to Barbie? Boyfriend, girlfriend. They are in a actual relationship. They've always were supposed to be in an actual relationship. Right. So this more feminist narrative is taking this structure, right? This supposed romantic structure, and be like, women, you can be completely and fully self-sufficient on your own, and you don't need men. Right. And men, you just have to like learn how to not require women. Like that's the solution. And I was like, that is not the point. I really wish they could have brought it back and been like, so this man just wants respect from the girl that he's in love with, and this girl may not like want him like that, but she learns to like appreciate him in a way that establishes him as an actual human being, and she learns to actually care about him in a meaningful way. Which is an experience that women have all the time. Exactly. And which is why I was like, I wish there was so much a better resolution to their relationship, because I was like, if you flip that script, like women want to be respected by their male counterparts, by their male partners. I want to feel valued, like my voice is heard. Like when you're saying like,
Ken was asked the time, oh my gosh, you care about.
I'm a human being.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Wow.
And like that is an experience that women can relate to. And so like, and the same thing, the men Barbie being like, you know, not really caring about their existence, but allowing you to hang around, yada, yada, yada. I wish there was just like more to that resolution of like, okay, because at the end of the day, like you were saying, like we're all existing on this earth. We like to procreate with one another. And obviously not everyone likes to procreate with men or women, and that's totally fine as well. but I'm sure
disclaimers have me weak every time.
I know. Well, like, okay,
we know who we're talking about.
Clearly there are people out there who are into the same sex.
There are gay people. Yes. It's not a big deal. Why are you so awkward?
Well, no, because I'm saying like, but you still have like male friends, I'm sure, out there. Like, you know, I don't know. I lost my train with when you interrupted me. Anyways.
It's a passive aggression for me.
Yeah, it is. So I'm trying to say what I have to say.
My bad.
We can procreate. We procreate with one another. We want to procreate with one another. We rely on each other. Like as like just like and that was what like those elements of like the little montage at the beginning, as I said, when she was sitting on the bus stop, and then even at the very end with all those clips of just like women existing. Like we're humans existing. We're social beings. Community is incredibly important. And yes, community among women is incredibly important, but community in general with fellow human beings. And I wish there was more of like a come to Jesus moment at the end of the movie with like, you know, with what you were saying of like, you know, we rely on one another. And maybe that is like not as female empowerment as people want it to be.
Right.
To be like, men need women, women need men. We all need each other. It's like, it's like take the binary out of it. Like obviously we exist differently and we operate differently and we think differently sometimes, but like at the end of the day, we're all humans existing with one another. And such heavily polarizing conversation and like rhetoric is just at this point in our like feminist movement seems unnecessary. It seems like we need, okay, what's up next, you know?
Why are we still talking about this like it's the 90s?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
it's so strange to me that because this was a very obviously like female empowerment feminist type of movie. Why is the feminine ideal, according to these people, women being alone?
Yeah.
When that's not what most women want.
No.
Why are they so quick and so constantly trying to preach that narrative?
Yeah.
About like you don't need anybody and wanting a man is not the goal.
Yeah.
It's so counterintuitive to me.
And I think maybe it's just been blown up like to a more of a generalization. Maybe it started out as like, you know, not needing certain types of men, you know,
or even certain things that men provided usually.
Right. Exactly. Like not relying on men in certain ways. And then even then
through the historical game of telephone, it became
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't need men at all. It's like, well, we need other people, you know, and like these things are important. Relationships are important. So like, I don't know, that was like a little disappointing to me because
they set it up so well for it to be that way.
Yeah, exactly. They had all like the moments ready right there waiting to just be put together so beautifully in a nice little box and little gift wrap. But they did not take that opportunity.
Just did not do it.
Yeah. And so it was frustrating. And then that's why I was like, okay, you didn't do that. And then even like the whole, like I said, back to American Ferrera's character where they didn't really like flesh out like if that they could have had two storylines going, right? This one, the commentary on the matriarchy and the patriarchy and societal like structures, like et cetera, gender roles, whatever. And then they also could have had this, in which that one, they probably wouldn't have had as big of a female empowerment storyline as maybe the audience would want. But then taking that with American Ferrera's character and really zoning in on that experience of the mother, the girl that becomes a woman who becomes a mother, and that cycle, and kind of existing in that
real, practical, tangible female experience.
Exactly.
Right?
Really tapping into that feminine, and they could have done that with American Ferrera's character and really brought that to fruition. And that could have been the women empowerment statement that I think everyone would have ate the fuck up. I was like, you're giving me crumbs. I need more.
Yeah. And in that too, I don't think it would have been that controversial either.
No.
Right?
I don't think so.
Because again, female empowerment at the expense of men is not as empowering as it sounds.
Right. Because at the end of the day, like when you're interacting human to human, it's like, does that really like sit well with you? Granted, yeah, there are things that like I get frustrated with dudes all the time about, like you just won't get it. And there were certain things like, because we had me and my boyfriend, we had a conversation after the movie and we were talking about it. And there were some things that I had to like just like explain to him. I was like, no, that's not like, actually, I won't say I get it because I don't. There was like a defensiveness to it. And I'm like, well, the movie wasn't for you. And like it was made for like a heavily like female perspective. And like, so of course you're not going to get it, but that doesn't mean you need to be defensive. And I honestly too, I didn't necessarily feel like Greta Gerwig was trying to attack the man, like the overarching man, as much as I think people took it as it was.
Like as much as people felt attacked by it.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't think it was that aggressive as like, and not my boyfriend. He was just like, I don't really get it. And I was like, okay, let me explain. I just don't think it was as aggressive as people were like being like so defensive about it. I think it was more just her trying to flip the script and like flip it on you and like show you kind of from, you know, like you said, show the inverse of like those experiences that women have. And that's a useful tool. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think abusing it.
Well, yeah.
Obviously.
People don't understand satire.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of that frustration, right?
Totally.
Because if you understood it as satire, it's not nearly as offensive as if you're like, wow, I don't know why this director is being so rude to men. Like, we're not that bad. It's like, it's an exaggeration because it's commentary.
Right.
Like, relax. It's
right,
okay.
Exactly.
But I will validate their frustration because of the point I said before, where all the satire would have been fine if it resolved in a way that was practical and meaningful. Because it didn't do that, the satire was kind of wasted, and it kind of made the satire more real than not, right?
Sure. I mean, and I guess I would assume that some people probably think if there was some positive resolution to Ken's character, that would be then catering to the male perspective, and maybe that's why Greta Gerwig stayed away from doing that. But like I said, I think there were a lot of elements of like the human experience that was sprinkled throughout the movie. And I don't know, me as a woman who lives the woman experience, I don't know that I would have taken it as more of just like a human note rather than specifically man, like, woman.
Why is the man why is the man winning? That's so anti-feminist.
And if anything too, because like we said, Ken is experiencing the inverse of what women in our real life experience. So his positive resolution would have been a positive resolution for us. That's how I would have taken it.
Or at least like a hopeful expectation.
Exactly. But
if that's not the mess that you end with, then and it's really hard to like apply this to the specific person, right? Because who knows why she made the decision that she did. Yeah. Probably she was just trying to be funny. Maybe it's not that deep.
Yeah, maybe.
But I wonder what she was thinking in not doing that, because she was so creative in reversing the roles and applying all that stuff to it. And is that the resolution that you feel? Do you actually not want like a positive resolution for this whole like feminist movement? Like the narrative, of course the narrative is so extreme that it doesn't want a positive resolution. Yeah. But you as the nuanced human and the writer that handle all these ideas with such profound like inspiration to create a whole movie about it, I would expect a little more from you in the sense that you should be able to reach the conclusion that makes the most sense for everyone and not just the ideas that you're working with.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She definitely didn't put a bow on these characters in a way that like would have been satisfying. Even like going back to like Barbie and her resolution. She goes to the gynecologist in the real world. I have a vagina. Yeah, it was a little like it fell flat a little bit just because, right, like throughout it, she's like, I'm stereotypical Barbie, you know, I exist like I am like the perfect like stereotype of like what a woman is, yada, yada, yada. I'm so pretty. Everything is perfect. Oh no, crisis, whatever. Has that whole like experience of like, oh, depression and what is life? What is death? Like all these things. And then kind of towards the end, right, with, you know, Billie Eilish's song overlaying her talk with Ruth and being like, oh, to be human, to have these complex emotions, this is living. It's okay to not feel perfect, be perfect, yada, yada, yada. All good themes. And then it kind of didn't wrap up in like a way.
In a way that made a lasting impact to the character and therefore the audience.
Like it was such a, for what it was, for what she was trying to give, like I thought it was like a nice like message. Even like the moment with her, with Will Ferrell in the boardroom when he's like, just go back in the box and like be the perfect stereotypical Barbie we all want you to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like that, talking about that was, you know, that was all very cool. I enjoyed that. But then the ending, I was like, like that was it.
It's like jarring.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know if that's like how long has I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say.
How long is what?
How long has Greta Gerwig been a director?
Oh, not very long.
Okay,
She's in the more recent years. They were talking about how she's just now reaching her peak.
Yeah,
and stuff.
And this could definitely be like her evolution, the beginning of like as her as a director. She'll. Because I think like there was a lot of like really cool themes in this movie, and maybe in later movies she'll wrap it up better. Yeah. It's such a funny way to say it, but
which is funny because if you're using that, how long she's been a director to really assess whether she's.
I know maybe that's me like trying to discredit her in some way. It's not. I'm just like.
No, I don't think you're trying to discredit her. Mine was like, she should be able to wrap it up. Based on like if you're using how long she's been working as a director as a means to assess whether or not she could wrap up a story like that, she's been working long enough that she should be able to understand that.
Yeah, no, that is actually very true, and she is a great director. Like there's a lot of I don't know that I've seen all of her movies, but I always hear really great things about like her movies, that they are really good and like really impactful. I think she did Little Woman. I think that was like one of the movies that she like really like hit the nail, and she clearly really enjoys writing about the woman experience, and I do enjoy like her perspective on it. I am curious now. I kind of want to watch some of her other films to see like how she kind of directs these movies and other films and talks about these like female experiences in other ways, because she's known for that essentially. Like this is kind of her like her thing. So I'm curious because I did really enjoy it, but I was a little like let down, you know, in the end. And it's funny too, because I feel like, at least the sense that I get when I ask other people how they like the movie, other like girls, other women, what they thought of the movie, they're like, I thought it was really nice. I thought it was good. I thought it was nice. And I was like, there's something else there. And I mentioned it to a couple people where I was like, I thought it was like a good movie too. I wish she did more though. And they're like, yeah. And like, I at least in my small little world that I exist in, I'm getting the sense from people, even one person actually before I saw the movie, she told me, she was like, I didn't like it. I really wanted to like it. I didn't like it. And so I think there is sort of a sense with some people, if they're being honest, I'm just going to take the small group of people that I know and kind of generalize it. Right. Everyone feels as if.
Is very, you should do that, yeah.
Exactly.
I approve.
Thank you. That everyone kind of got the sense that there was a little bit of something missing. To another thing that I heard on the internet about kind of like the flow of the plot and how it kind of felt like clunky and chunky and shit. Someone said, and I don't know if this is true or was intentional at all, but someone had said that was intentional and that it felt as if I was a kid playing with my Barbies. The perspective was of a person. I don't think that's true. I don't know. I don't like maybe in moments.
I can see logic for anything anyone would say.
Yeah.
Like I can't say that that's not how that's not true at all.
Yeah. Like, and that's the reason why the plot felt like, and the scene cuts, like there were a couple moments that didn't feel smooth, and someone
like the whole,
had just
race car situation, like they were driving away after they picked her out, like that, all that shit made no sense to me.
Yeah, like there were moments that felt a little bit clunky, and someone was saying that it was because it was like a little girl was playing Barbies, and that's why, like when you're playing Barbies, there's like. Once, like at the very beginning of the movie, when she like just floats down into her car, it's kind of like that, right? Like, you know, nothing really makes sense. It's just like, and then we were here, and it's. And
I love that for the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
I thought that was perfect.
Yeah,
but then why is that the theme throughout the entire thing?
Why keep that?
Yeah,
as it like progresses and we get into deeper and deeper themes. Theme. Sorry, I keep saying themes.
Which is fine.
Yes. But before we like officially, I think next talking about Ferrera's speech or her character speech in the movie, because I think a lot of people are talking about that on the internet and kind of like critiquing it for obvious reasons. It was a pretty like supposed to be a really big moment in the movie.
That was the statement for sure.
It was like the statement of the movie for sure. Before we do that, I'm like, as I'm like thinking about it, it's funny. Because I'm thinking like overall we enjoy the movie, and I do want more movies that are from like this like female perspective, like solely, not necessarily catering to the male perspective, and these big box office type movies that are getting this funding to do so, right? I really enjoy that, and yet here we are like critiquing the crap out of it, and not even just us, but like everyone as a society. And not that I'm going to stop critiquing it, right? Like I'm going to keep
posting this.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to keep critiquing. But like we're as a society critiquing the crap out of it, hoping and like expecting it to have been some sort of, and I don't know if this is actually true, but like the idea of like expecting it to be this sort of like perfect representation of female empowerment and this feminist like messaging and yada, yada, yada. But it wasn't that perfect thing. And we're all kind of dissatisfied with it. And that just being kind of
the point of her speech.
Maybe. And also too, just kind of, like mirroring reality in that, women aren't enough to exist in certain spaces, right? Like you can be perfect at your job, but the dude who's been here for X amount of time will get the promotion before you do, because he's a dude, and it's a broy bro world out there, you know? And so I don't know, it kind of is funny. Like I'm like looking at like the irony of it, I guess, in the back of my head of just like we're critiquing it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It didn't have to be a perfect messaging or feminist messaging at all, or like a female-based movie. It didn't have to be. It could have been what it was, and there could have been moments where we wanted more, and maybe we'll get that in the future, because we don't really get movies like this often. Even today, I don't feel like we necessarily have movies, and maybe that's untrue, but yeah, so it was just something that I was like thinking about, that it's kind of like, oh, as we're critiquing, it's literally like the woman experience of like being critiqued and needing to be perfect and not being perfect and all that good stuff.
I can see how you feel that way.
Well, it is the woman experience, so
yeah. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting, and this is as you say that, in this entire discussion that we had before you even started recording this about my frustration with the complaints that women have about the female experience, is like, you created the piece of art, and nothing that is created is above critique.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that it's great that this thing is worth critique.
Yeah,
because
totally.
Not people aren't bashing, or some people are bashing the movie.
Yeah.
But like the people that like actually appreciate the movie aren't critiquing it in the sense that I wish that this could have been so much better. And that's not the perspective I'm coming from. I thought it was a perfect representation of what this type of movie should be, right? The first thing I said is like, well, that movie wasn't made for me, right?
Yeah, right.
And that was me saying like, I'm not going to assess this movie from the perspective of a movie I was the intended audience for.
Totally.
But within that intended audience, we should definitely critique the shit out of that.
Yeah.
How are we going to get better? How are we going to get better if we're not holding the creator accountable for what they missed?
Yeah.
You're appreciating what you did.
Right.
We're beseeching you.
Yeah.
To correct these minute situations that could have made the entire process that much better.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about the imperfections because that's how we improve.
I agree. I do agree with that.
So to assume or to believe something is above reproach because it represents an idea that's controversial or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like nothing is like above critique for sure. I guess it's kind of just like the statement of, and I don't think this is what's happening with the movie. It just like made me think as we are critiquing it, and as we go into America Ferrera's speech, is that women are critiqued to the point of being bashed and shunned from certain like spaces. Because they were not perfect, and even when they were, they were still not
perfect.
Exactly. And we can relate to that from like a Black experience, right?
That's exactly what I was talking about. I was like, Blackness, but for sure,
literally,
but
right,
for sure.
right. But yeah, I think this was interesting because I guess we'll start with this. I had watched a TikTok video. Where I want to say her name because I think it was her take, and I just it wasn't my idea. It was what she said.
That's what she said.
That is what she said.
That is what she said.
Literally. Her name is Jazz Melody on JAZ on TikTok, and her video came up on my For You page where she was talking about how people were upset or just like didn't enjoy the America Ferrera's character's speech at all. Thought it was like, well, like she didn't say anything new. It wasn't anything like like she was saying it as if it was something new and impactful, but it wasn't anything new or impactful. It's like same old feminist rhetoric that's been said for like years and decades. And so people were upset that Greta Gerwig didn't bring something more like innovative and hard-hitting,
profound,
to the conversation. And something that this creator had pointed out was that she believed that the intention was not to bring something new to the conversation, but that from the audience perspective, that what it is that we are, as the audience, looking at Barbie, who is coming to find and understand this information for the first time. And so this is what the things that you are told when you're first discovering this kind of women's place in society as you're coming of age, when you're like 13, 14-year-old girl. And like, this is what you're realizing and what you're seeing and the messaging that you're understanding. So it isn't supposed to be anything new. It's just you're kind of looking back, peering back almost into maybe what you as a young girl were starting to understand, and through like looking at your mother, your grandmother, et cetera, people around you. So it wasn't supposed to be.
It's supposed to be nostalgic.
It's exactly another element of like nostalgia in terms of like the messaging as well. So that helped, because I agree, when I first heard the speech in the theater, I was like a little like, okay. I was like a little underwhelmed by it, and also like a little like, yeah, I guess like it was just like, I mean, like, I guess
could have done without that.
I'm like, yeah, like female empowerment. But I was like, also, I wish like you said something different, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. And we went through and looked at, we've like analyzed kind of every line of this,
everything that she said
of this speech. And some of the lines I'm like, I agree with. Some of them, not that I disagree with, I just don't think they're necessarily relevant to today. And maybe they don't necessarily need to be relevant to today, the things that she was saying, but just kind of over a wide spectrum from your grandmother to you, what the experience has been since, and what's been realized since women's suffrage has come into play.
Modern conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of America's speech, obviously.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to be a fan of America's speech, but it wasn't just blatant bigotry. Hear me out. I have a thing to say about it.
Okay.
One, I thought it was just too damn long.
Okay.
I just thought it was it felt so self-serving in the moment when I was watching the movie.
Okay.
Because it felt like a very soapbox moment. And I'm just like, y'all have less than 48 hours to really convince all these other girls, and you are over here feeling sorry for yourself when there's like bigger issues to deal with? Okay.
Yeah.
And then in the content of her speech, and this is kind of the nature of the question, today's question that I was very curious about, because I'm actually genuinely curious.
Yeah.
You hear this narrative about having so much expectation and pressure to exist as a woman, and how it's impossible to meet those expectations.
Yeah.
And through these examples, whether it's being thin or not being able to ask for money or not wanting to, being a great mother but not being able to talk about your kids, or being a boss and not being able to be mean, being a career person, or not being able, or having to still care about like people that doesn't necessarily like enhance that career path, right? You hear all this stuff, and I wonder how much of all the stuff that she said in this speech really applies to a practical experience. Because if you extrapolate this information from a macro perspective, you do see how a lot of these things can apply on a general, in a general sense. Like even the idea of Barbie being it was so controversial because people started identifying with that from a very young age and feeling like they never measured up to what a Barbie looked like. You have to have like a 23-inch waist and like all this stuff, hourglass figure and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a conversation that was happening when I was like 4 or 5. I still
100.
remember those people.
Totally.
Those people, the adults in my life, like talking about stuff like that. So I get it, but on a day-to-day, practical interactions, like in your life as a woman, how relevant are those feelings? Like, do you really feel like you have all these expectations on you? And do you feel like you can never measure up to them? Is that like an actual thing that you feel? The one thing that I saw that I see all the time that I can actually identify with what she was saying is you're supposed to stay pretty for men part of the speech, right? You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them, or too much that you threaten other women, because you're supposed to be part of the sisterhood. That seems so relevant to me. That seems so, I see that all the time. That makes a lot of sense, because the whole sexual assault conversation, right? What's the typical excuse? Well, like, you shouldn't be dressed so like provocatively, blah, 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 which, a whole can of worms within that entire thing. I don't really want to go into like that conversation right now.
Totally.
But I understand that. That is a very annoying thing, especially like I want to feel sexy. I want to be beautiful. I want to like dress in a way that makes me feel like I am stylish and fashionable. But you always have to think about how the threat of a man can affect your ability to exist in like the world, which, aggressive, annoying. And then on top of that, the better you look, the better you are. You're threatening women. And so women are also like attacking you and slut shaming you, which is actually really funny because women slut shame women more than men slut shame women. It's like a woman thing that they do to each other, and not necessarily a thing that men do to women, because of that entire idea, like jealousy and like you can't be more of this because we want to maintain a certain image, a certain perspective, a certain way of being in relation to.
It's like I'm going to use a trigger word, like a chronically online trigger word, which I don't mind it when used necessarily. It's the slut shaming is like the internalized misogyny, essentially playing out in like female to female dynamics.
Exactly.
So it's still due to like the patriarchy and like, but like it's women who are trying to appease this, I don't know why I want to say big brother, but like the man. And so therefore they turn on other women in order to bump themselves up another level in the hierarchy. They want to appeal to the man. So they're slut shaming the other girls because they know like to try and bring them down, to bring themselves in better good graces with the men in their lives.
I don't think that's how the I don't think that that's how that operates on a
I think that's a root of it.
Internalized misogyny.
Yeah.
Like we said way back in episode 2. Mm-hmm. Why would they do that if men love sluts?
Well, men still shame sluts. Like, men are not going around being like, I love whores. That's why the whole conversation around like body count is such a huge thing. Why these red pill men exist about like, oh, the woman's virginity, even not in red pill, but historically this has existed. Men outwardly shame women who are sexually active. Despite them enjoying sexually active women in privacy, they outwardly shame them. So other women who see that also join in that shaming to appeal to the man in that sense.
I heard it explained from a different perspective, in the sense that slut shaming is a means of control.
Also.
And not necessarily controlling, like men controlling women. It's a means of mediating what women, what's expected from women in the sexual space. So if we allowed like the most sexual, provocative human being to dictate what was expected, then everyone would be expected to do what they do. Because if she does it, why aren't you doing it? And if you aren't doing it, then you can't compete in that space anymore. So it's like, the girls that don't want to do the certain things are trying to create a negative stigma around those things so they don't have to do them.
They're not expected
so that's not
to do
expected. Like having sex on the first date, right?
Yeah.
That's not something universally that most women want to do.
Yeah.
But if that becomes the expectation and the norm, then
we're in danger.
Right, exactly. And now well, that's just the thing. And that has happened too, just in the way that we've been dating, which like just has how physicality has progressed over the years with what was expected and when it's expected.
Yeah.
So it's a means of control to kind of tailor that.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's dangerous if it's not.
Yeah. That's an interesting take.
Yeah. But I identify with, I don't identify with it. I understand that take. Everything else, that duality of the conversation, like, I can't do this, but I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I can't do this. And the very complex nuance of the female experience to me is just like, when I look at the information, that just seems to be what it means like to be a human. Because there's expectations on everyone in society, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. Like, oh, you can't, it's too contradictory and it's too hard and no one gives you a medal or says thank you. Like, that's everyone. Like, how many thankless things does everyone do in society? You shouldn't be a mean person. You have to be kind. But to be a leader, you have to be assertive in a way that isn't going to make everybody happy. Again, these are just experiences. But to frame it in a way like it's just like this crazy burden of expectations that's always being projected on women and no one else in society, to me, I don't think is an accurate representation of what's going on. But on top of that, I don't fucking know, and I can't know.
I was going to say, because I think half of this stuff, or the things that she said, you're not going to see it because you're a man. And not just like, and you specifically, Jem, you're not just a man, but you're a man who surrounds yourself with relatively good men, other men, like good men who generally are relatively open-minded, more progressive leaning in terms of like interaction with women, and just like don't have the same like thoughts or do the same things that other like men are doing, where then women are seeing that. You're not seeing it because you're not surrounding yourself with it. Where women are more likely, like myself, to have even at least at some point interacted in it because you learned where not to interact, right? And that's why we're here. That's why you are a male friend of mine. Because,
fair enough.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
Right.
I'm glad I could provide that service for you.
Not
being a bigot.
Yeah,
the bare minimum.
No, literally.
Man.
Yeah, like I think like with some aspects of it, like I think a good example of you maybe not seeing the other side of it where women are still feeling a certain pressure is the line where she says, I offer you, sorry. It's like when you turn the Bible and you're like, please turn to page.
John chapter.
Galatians.
Not Galatians. Not the Galatians. That really took me back to a place.
No, literally. Literally.
Woo. I'm sweating.
Anyways. So this line where she says, you have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. And that line being something that you were confused by, and which is understandable, like on like, you know, at first look, when you look around in society, like there's a lot of, there's been a huge push by people to, like body inclusivity movement being like a really big thing, right? And you see that a lot in our media representation as well, where more people who are not just like very skinny and thin.
Skin and thinny. Wow.
My brain just had a stroke.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. So you see this movement of body inclusivity, which we are all like accepting as a society, and it's going in a great direction. And
Plus
it's like
size models and
exactly
the whole thing.
Right. And you see this and you're like, oh, that isn't a thing anymore. You aren't expected to be thin. But I counter that because as the people that are pushing that messaging the most are women and other like minority communities, the gay community, etc., who are pushing that messaging. And yes, in like a day-to-day, like when you look at, you know, a magazine, you look on Instagram, etc., you see a lot of this, you see a lot more representation. When you're interacting with cis hetero dudes, you still hear that same thought process of like, yeah, I don't know, like I'm a little uncomfortable with all like basically like fat people being like praised in society because it's unhealthy. I just want my girl to be healthy, and it's like, and when which I would counter that with, there are women who are bigger set and are living completely healthy lives, eat well, exercise, well-balanced diet, etc. And they just are naturally bigger set women. We always talk about, we love a thick girl and like
with 2 C's, baby.
Right. And like fat on women is like biologically necessary. We bear children. Like it makes sense why
those childbearing hips.
Right. Literally. Exactly. And we all know what that means, right? But then
we know what that means. Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God. Anyways, this makes me so uncomfortable. But then when we apply that and see that where a woman who's like a bigger woman, like on a magazine, Sports Illustrated, people up in arms about, I forget the model's name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the first plus size model.
And shit.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden we're upset about it. Like, what does this mean? Well, she's a healthy woman. She's a full-bodied woman. That's
Sports Illustrated isn't going to get some hospitalized.
Right, exactly.
One step away from a heart attack.
Right, 100%. And so like, so it's still, once you hear that, when you're talking to your, like some fellow dudes, like your peers in that regard, you're still getting that messaging from men who are saying like, essentially applying, they want like a thin woman. They're like, oh, I just want you to be healthy. But no, what you really want is like a girl who's thin, but still has a nice ass. And like, there's still these expectations where it's like, you have to be skinny, but you can't be too skinny. You still have to have like boobs and you still have to have a butt. Like, you know, like there's all these things. And that is like the expectation of like body appearance that women are still very much experiencing. And in, as historically seen, like men take a bit to catch up to that, I guess.
What do you mean?
I mean that I guess then I'll kind of go into like the other like aspect of it that we had been talking about, where I'm not sure how relevant this is to today, but like the themes of like a career woman and like the expectations that she was talking about. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. moving down a little bit, you have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. I guess to first start off, the use of, I think in another area, she says, you can't be mean, you can't be rude. Where's the other one? I can't remember. Oh, down here. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, etc. And I think like as the man, like it's like, well, yeah, we don't want a lead. Like no good leader is mean. No good leader is rude, obviously. But I think what is being said there and why women can then immediately understand that that's what they're being told when they're just being assertive or confident in what their opinion or that they have to say, or just like the very fact that you're a woman in a power position, men can get all worked up by that. And so you can literally be the nicest human being ever. And they'll be
the
like,
way she said that.
Exactly. Like you could literally be the perfect leader and the perfect boss and so courteous and so catering to your employees. But if you have a dude who like just doesn't like answering to women, who has like this whole thing in his head, it doesn't matter. You're mean, you're rude, you're a bitch. Like those are, and so I think that is why she uses those words. You can't be mean, you can't be rude. It's not because these women are actually being rude or expecting like we should be able to be rude in society. Sure. And to agree, I agree with that, but not in the way that you think.
Okay.
Women should be able to show emotion, right?
I
freely.
got that. Immediately.
Yeah.
Because we're right here, dog.
I'm glad.
Intellectuals. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
The way you cheek, I'm offended.
Yes, I'm offended. But I think that is why those words were used. But what I mean by men not being able to catch up, when we talked about kind of the progression of the feminist movement throughout the last 100 years, I should say.
More or less, yeah.
And how there was like a progression of, so the silent generation, they were the ones who were the housewives. They were the ones popping pills and having to be like the perfect women, the domesticated, all that good stuff.
Smile when your husband get home.
Yeah.
Or he's going to beat you.
Exactly. Everything
Be
has
seen,
to be
not
perfect.
heard. Yeah.
Exactly. All
Make
that
sure that
good
meal's
stuff.
hot and on the table. And if it's too cold, you're getting smacked.
Right. And then it kind of then progressing with maybe like, then like the boomers, I would say more like the boomers, I guess, were the people who were like on the picket fences, women's suffrage, yes, let's do it. And then you kind of then
women's suffrage was in 1919.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, just to let you know.
Okay, the when everyone was ripping off their bras in like the 60s.
Yeah.
That movement, that part of the feminist
That was
movement.
the sexual revolution.
There we go. That's what I meant.
Just because you've been saying that
I've been
all day,
saying.
and I was like,
It's all women's suffrage to me.
They've been suffering.
They have been suffering. Oh my gosh, exactly.
But yeah, the 60s was a sexual revolution.
Got you. So then the sexual revolution with the boomers into Gen X kind of being the first time. So around like the 80s when career women were really starting to be seen in a real way in society.
Leading in the more technical fields as well. More interest in like STEM stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And in that you see that these women who are our mothers, kind of existing in a world where they were both career women, but still having to carry the load of domestic work and that kind of inequality in the household. And that is my reference, my little jab at men of like
they needing time to catch up,
catching up to like still like, oh yeah, you can be a career woman, but you're still going to take care of the house completely, right? And so that kind of that being the inequality in the household in that regard being a result of like men not realizing necessarily the actual change that would and the shifting of roles that would need to happen,
which we were discussing earlier, and I found like humor in it. I thought it was funny because
of course
tradition was a thing, right?
Yeah,
2,000 years in the making. We had our thing. Men went to war. Men brought home the bacon. Oh man, I haven't said that phrase in so long. I just gotta appreciate.
Bring home the bacon.
Yeah, no, really,
I actually haven't heard that in such a long time either.
I'm saying like, wow, it really just came out of me right now. Oh my god. Men
God.
had to bring home the bacon, and women had to make it. Right?
Yeah.
Not a big deal, but all of a sudden, women have a newfound understanding of how they want to exist in society. A long time coming, and no change is going to come. But at the end of the day, the roles were what the roles were. And granted, in the modern times, it makes more sense.
Yeah, explain
context. They were angry, right?
Yeah.
Women were angry back then that they had to both work and also take care of the things at home and like be responsible for the kids and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Where nowadays that anger, I think, is much more well placed because now we need that in those families, right?
Because of our economy, things are expensive, inflation, etc. Dual income households are
a necessity and not just a privilege, right?
Whereas back then, when women were wanting in careers, it wasn't necessary for dual income households to exist.
Those husbands were not utilizing that second income. That was for women. And you can look at all the source data about how women spent their money and like between like the 1970s to the 1990s. They weren't spending it on household bills and household appliances and doing all that stuff. That was singular income homes where the husband was taking care of all that stuff. They were working because they wanted to, right? And I understand.
Yeah, because that statement just like it infuriates me.
It does. She's been mad the entire day, and it's okay.
Because it's not about like whether, like, why is she wanting to the like dismissive argument or statement that's being said?
Right. And I'm not trying to dismiss it. I'm just finding humor in it because it's an active choice that you're making, right? And I get
and it makes sense why a woman, why a person would want to like do more than just be a housewife.
Not just a maid, right?
It's like men have the option of having, you can choose from all of these careers. Women, you get one.
Yeah, you get
like
to
that
be in
is
the house.
that is literally the comparison that you're giving. Like you men get all this variety in what you get to do in your life. Women, you are stuck doing this one role. Like as much as men still have a role in the household, they do still have and under this traditional context, they have creative freedom within that to choose outside of that what they want to do with their life and their hobbies and all that kind of stuff. They want to spend their hours. Women, it's like, okay, you don't have any creative choice.
You just kind of have to do what you have to do.
One role. And like, yes, you can have your hobbies, but motherhood and domestic taking care of a home is a job. Exactly. And so it's like, then you're expected to do that. And it's fine if you just want to do that as a woman. But if you're a woman who wants and aspires to do more and have like an equal partner in that, who shares both the financial and domestic labor, that is frustrating. So it's like, yes, I want to, and that is enough. I don't need you to take care of the whole house. I don't need you to take care of it all. I want to participate now. So let me participate.
Right. And we let you participate. They did.
But then they're like, but you still have to take care of the whole, all the domestic shit. And that's where I'm like,
of course, like
they had to catch up.
Of course, that would be frustrating because now you have double the work. Right?
Yeah.
You literally have double the work.
Literally.
I just find it funny because you chose to have more work and now you're complaining about it.
No, you were hoping that your fellow peers and humans, males who you gave maybe the benefit of the doubt that they had the intellect to maybe introspect that women, not all women necessarily wanted.
Wait. That was a bar low key. Wait a minute. You were hoping that they had the intellect to introspect. Oh, run that shit back one more time. That's crazy. Hold on.
Damn.
That was good. See, this is what you have to understand. Two things about Renee.
Yeah.
You get her a little peeved.
You just have to get me mad.
She's so eloquent, man. It's crazy. You get a little wine in her system.
Yeah.
She'll lecture you about your entire life plan and why you're not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing and how you need to do it better.
Yes.
It's mad impressive. Like, oh my goodness. I've never heard you say those words in that order.
I haven't ever said those words in that order. And this is why we're friends, because you hype me up when I get into these moods.
Like, yes, queen.
Yes,
say more. I love it.
God. That was funny. But yeah, like you're hoping like in those moments that as women are coming to these realizations that we do not want to live this way, that men would have the be able to have the perspective
Right.
to look and be like, yeah, I can understand why that's horrible, and let's work together to readjust this in society. But obviously, because the men had the power and it benefited them, obviously it's not going to happen that easily.
Naturally.
But
And
that is the frustrating part. Like, why do I have to explain this to you? You have access as much as I do to see these things.
It's a very practical frustration.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying that they don't have the right to feel that they have the way that they feel, or that frustration wasn't valid.
Yeah.
I just think the concept is funny. The concept is funny to me. The concept will never not be funny to me.
For sure.
It's funny to me because I understand, right? I'm
Okay.
not taking any sides. I'm just laughing at information. Because it's hilarious. It's hilarious. You had a good thing going.
You had a good, and you know what? It's funny because people do make jokes today. Like,
right? Now women don't even want to work, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
you try to be in the sewers? No. You try to do all this stuff? You try to worry about all this stuff? I mean, the grass is always greener, right?
Right.
Now we wish that we could just chill at home and do nothing all day. Now we have to work. That's not fun.
You're like, I want to be a housewife, actually.
And now it's like a privilege to be a housewife. So it's funny to me, like back then when they wanted the change, and like obviously we know why they wanted the change and why the change was necessary and important.
Yeah.
It's just funny to me that like the practicality, not the like fundamental of the idea is you had a situation. The situation has been the same situation for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah.
1. 2, you're the one that actively changed the situation.
Yeah.
And now the situation is hard, so it frustrates you. Like, that's funny to me. That's hilarious. Not that we can't come together and make it better.
Yeah.
It's just like that progression is hilarious to me.
Sure. Like, I guess I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna. You feel that is funny. I do not. I feel like it's completely.
Women had a hard time. You don't understand.
Completely unfunny.
Yeah.
But
why you have to find the humor in it?
You
have to find the humor in it.
Oh
it's
my
good.
God.
It's good. And then too, we were talking about because in that you were elaborating on the roles that women had. Right. Taking care of the house is a big responsibility.
Yeah,
and you want to elaborate on that point, and then I'll tell my point, because I think that's a very useful point.
Yeah,
to have in here.
This is something that I feel like an idea I've been playing around with for a little bit now, and it's just the idea of like the mental load that women take on in their relationships. Just in talking about kind of like the expectations and like the way, like the burdens of that women and men have to take on in relationship, or just like responsibilities, and this idea of like the mental and emotional load that women take on in that can feel unequal, that it can be frustrating to women in the women experience, and that essentially being women monitoring the flow and structure of like day to day. Even today, I feel like you still see that a lot, where women, like kind of like the trope, like, oh, the man doesn't know what's going on. Like you say, like you go on a trip with your husband. You're like, oh, I've planned out everything. I have the itinerary. Like it's usually the woman who's like the organizer, who has everything ready to go, and like the man just has to sit back, relax. Some of them pack their shit for them, and like they don't have to think about anything. They're just there existing, and the woman is the one like stressed out, trying to make sure the structure and this flow of everything goes well. And then even then too, into like a marriage, right? You have a kid, and like this whole idea of your son has like allergies and like activities, extracurriculars, right. And the wife allergies and those are the two things I think of when I think of a child: allergies and extracurriculars.
Yeah, true.
The wife knows everything, knows every last like little minute detail of like maybe the diet that the son has to have, medication or whatever they might have to take, all the like the times that their extracurriculars are at, and all this kind of stuff. And then if you leave the son with the husband for a day, it completely falls apart. The husband has no clue what's going on inside the household in that regard, and it feeling as if like you are. And I think where this idea of women feeling like they have to, men are like another child that they have to take care of, and like I think that idea, this is where that idea comes into play or plays out. is that like the men are completely like checked out and just floating. Just tell me what you need. It's like, no, I want you to know, like I want you to just take me on the dates, not me telling you like, you know, every single time, like I need a date. Or say like a common like scenario that you hear a lot of new mothers with women with like, not even just new mothers, but women who have newborns in the household, and say the husband is like, oh, I'll be on night duty tonight, you rest. And the husband gets up because the kid is crying, goes to take care of it, and goes to the mom and is like, what do I do? How do I console? And she's still, even though she's not on like clocked in, she's still clocked in. And because he's making her clocked in, versus she had to figure it out just the same as you are having to figure it out how to take care of the newborn. Just figure it out. You know, you don't like clue her in. You don't always have to clue her into these things as if like you're completely inept, you know? That's and then that kind of into these extremes of like male, like is it like male ignorance? Or like weaponized ignorance.
Weaponized like obliviousness.
Yeah, exactly. That men can fall into. And it's like that sort of load.
Well, I didn't know.
Exactly. And it's like, you're just like sitting pretty. Like, what are you doing? Like, no thoughts in your brain, but the women are back there just like working hard. And so I think like these, like in those, like that regard, that's like a frustrating experience that a lot of women have with their male counterparts.
Where I countered with, I can't speak for all men. I can only speak for the men that I am and the ones that I aspire to be and the people I associate with, right? So a man that I think is worth being with. Yeah. You are dealing with the day-to-day minutia, right? Might feel like a lot of tasks. It might feel like so many things are involved and like you said,
sorry, even more so saying it is a lot of tasks. It is like a day-to-day, like you're doing a lot of things. Yeah. Not necessarily I feel it is.
Sure, for sure. That's fine. It is a lot of shit. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the day-to-day. Living your life, all the responsibilities that you have to do, taking care of your kid, all the things that a kid needs. I took care of some kids the other day and I understand.
You understand?
I understand.
You understand the whole women experience.
Yeah, like I've been enlightened. I took care of a kid one time, and I've been enlightened completely. I know. Women, I relate to you. I understand for sure.
You're like never doing that again.
Yeah, right. And men, yes, I understand you too. I don't want to do that shit no more. But like I understand how much thought goes into it because these kids were teenagers. Yeah. And still like getting them up on time, getting them ready, getting them food, 3 meals a day. Stuff that I do naturally without thinking about. If I don't want to eat something, I don't have to eat something. I have to feed these kids. I have to take them out. They need some sunlight. They need exercise. Like all these things. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Yeah. Right? So it can, and this is where the feeling comes out. I was like, maybe it feels like overwhelming sometimes. Yeah. But a man that's worth being with, while you are taking care of that, he is taking care of the more macro issues that exist around being and existing in the world, right? There's a lot of things that I believe that women are shielded from, like real, like life or death, like food on the table, no food on the table, things that men go out into the world and attack on a daily basis. And he's over here thinking about fortifying the castle and how the castle is going to be fortified 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How are our kids going to exist when we're gone, right? Which in and of itself is a huge thing for the very finite human mind to contemplate, right? There's so many variables you have to consider on a day-to-day. There's so many people that you have to interact with on a day-to-day that can affect these things that are completely out of your control. Right. Right. So it's a different type of stress and it's long-term thinking. Yeah. And single moms know very quickly what it feels like to not have that support and that brace against like the flow and all that stress that comes from the external factors. So while women really keep a nice and clean and tidy aspect of the internal world, the external world is shielded against by the ability that the man comes and brings to the table, which is equally as hard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's harder because it's just a different type of difficulty.
It's just a different sort of stress. Yeah. And I can see that. Even like, you know, you had said like carrying like generational wealth, let's just say, like making sure that your kids have like a future of support even when you are gone. But even like on a slightly smaller level, like I can see it with, like I'm making sure that I am successful so that I can support our kids when they go to college and that we can send them off and do that. And like on those like micro levels, I can understand that.
The dad can't take care of the kid. He doesn't get to soccer practice on time.
Yeah.
Right? Not the end of the world. The dad doesn't fulfill his responsibilities, his duties. You guys are homeless.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So the consequences are so much more significant.
Sure.
So the responsibility and the burdens are as weighty as the bunch of little things that you have to do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Right?
But like, if that was like that beautiful, you know, I think maybe those roles would be more appreciated. And I think you do maybe see that more in our era where the conversation about like how relationships should look like are not completely like women stay in the home, men provide, or like the like flipped opposite, but more so just like whatever roles you and your partner wish to exist in with one another, anything goes, essentially.
Right,
like,
there's even conversation about men being stay-at-home dads and women really want to pursue that career, they can.
Yeah.
Everything's negotiable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like if things were that beautiful in the traditional roles, then maybe the strife and like the anger wouldn't be there as much from the women. But as we know historically, that was completely abused.
Yeah, it's not the case at all. Because like I said, remember, I prefaced this with men that I think are worth being with.
Right. And that's like that beautiful...
Men, not how men are typically.
Right. It's like... what it should be is like this more like symbiotic, like yin and yang things come together. Like the roles that we have, you know, come together to bring this beautiful union. But yeah, and I think though the part of that feminist conversation that's being had and has been being had is that like not all women want you to be our shield. You know, I want to step up in my and have a career and also join you on the battlefront. Right.
Bear some of the brunt of that force.
I don't want you to be my everything, my shield from the external world. I want to join with you in that, and so we can share in that, like both external and internal labor that is required to have a symbiotic relationship. And men,
a partnership.
Wow, a beautiful thing. And men are fighting that tooth and nail.
Not as much anymore.
No, not as much anymore. Well, especially, like you said, the economy has gone to shit.
Man. So I need you to work. Please help me, please.
They're like, wait, so you want to be a career woman, right?
Right. So where do you work?
Right. So what's your job?
I can bear the force before.
What's your 10-year plan?
Yeah, the force is too much now.
Yeah.
Help me. Please.
Help me. Yeah. So I don't know. I see what you're saying. And I think that's why like some of the conversation we have, like we as a society have about relationships and the things that we're willing to accept and not accept, I think is when it comes to relationships, I think is a beautiful thing because it's not just one way, one thing at the end of the day. Like we're all individuals, as I will always say, and it will just look different from each person, and just society as a collective, we saying it is okay for it to look different from each person. If you want a super traditional interaction, hell yeah, good for you. If you never want to have children, you want to be two boss ass bitches together, good for you. If you don't want to date a man and you just want to be with other women and you want to fuck shit, hell yeah. You know? And I think that's like the beautiful aspect of that.
And two, just to add on to that point, I think the conversation is much more necessary because most people don't fit the archetype on both sides, right?
Right.
But they argue from assumption that they do. Right? You're not a traditional woman, but you want all these things that a traditional man provides.
Yeah.
But on the other side, you're not a traditional man, but you want all these things. You're not fitting the archetype, but you're arguing the stance for them. Like, they don't need you to. You're going to go and work on yourself and become something that's worthy for the conversation you're trying to provide. Or, like you were just saying, change the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think more than not, they realize those archetypes are very hard to achieve,
Yeah.
and they are much more willing to engage in the conversation. Like, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe if I don't have to do that, maybe I can allow you not to have to do this. And I'll just like, it is what it is. And also, continuing that point a little more, I think a lot of people just want this to be a thing, right? Like we were saying in the dating series, people don't want the conversations to be as dramatic as they are. They're like, I want this and you can deal with it and it's cool. Like, cool, I'll totally accept that and that's fine. And I want this and like, cool, I'll accept that and that's fine. But that's just not how years and years, generations and generations of indoctrination and a specific way of operating in relation to each other can work. So there's going to be friction, and there should be friction. If there's no friction, then that's kind of weird. You have to really question what type of person you're interacting with.
Yeah.
But embracing that friction and learning how to communicate that friction, really negotiating within that.
Yeah.
It's like, I wanted it to be like this. It's like, okay, I'll allow this to be a thing, but you have to be okay with me being frustrated for a little bit until I get used to this being the way that makes sense for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, and to that point, it makes sense that it was hard. It is hard to switch because it was the way that we have been existing as humans in the world for so long. For generations. And so, of course, it's going to be hard to make that shift. But even to that of just like a point that like, I guess going into like the next thing that we have been like talking about with like this, the women's suffrage and the sexual revolution.
Right.
And just even just like the feminist movement, like throughout the like this is something that we have like always been going through. Like something that you had mentioned was the issue with like, all right, I don't know if issue with like it's like a class issue. It's like a class thing that's going on.
There are no political issues in America. They don't exist. The only issues in our society at large is the rich versus the poor. It's a classism situation.
Yeah.
And every other narrative that they're feeding you and down your throat, this is sounding really conspiracy.
It is. Go on. Yes.
Is a distraction from the actual problem. You can reduce every issue that you could bring up in society to a class versus class dynamic.
Yeah. And I think how we like got to the class issue part of this conversation was we had talked about, women working. It's like, do you really want, and you had responded with, do you really want to be working? The man comes home from the factory.
Right. He's working 18-hour days.
Working 18-hour days at the factory and yada, yada, yada.
Almost got his arm chopped off because of heavy machinery. No work training, no nothing. He's over here winging it. About to lose an arm over here.
It's like, you look at that, you want that. But then I responded with, I was like, well, those people, like, it was probably very different. Like, these things, first of all, those women who did stay home of a factory worker probably was like, yeah, you do you. I'll stay home and take care of the kids.
I'll take care of the kids. I'm not trying to operate that forklift. Not at all.
No.
I'm not trying to be in a factory that's 104 degrees full of all these people.
Right.
No, you can do that.
Exactly.
You can definitely do that. And I'll love to say this newfound air conditioning because it's the 80s and it just got invented.
Right.
And I love it here.
Right.
Please.
And so it's like the working class, it was like maybe like a different experience with these roles.
The working class had to work.
Yeah. Right. And that was when we were talking about just like there were people working, like it was like the middle class women who were the housewives who their men went off to corporate America. And maybe this is just the picture that we've been painted,
Of course,
of what this looked like. But it was the middle class women who were the ones who were staying home and taking care of like these households and blah, blah, blah. Poor people like had to work regardless. Both of y'all had to get up off your bootstraps and
provide because one person couldn't do it.
Yeah.
On 5 nickels and a half pence a day.
Right.
That's not going to cut it.
Exactly.
We got bills, Susan. Come on now. And then on top of that too, we were talking about how the Black experience in relation to this situation is just completely different.
So different.
Black people have been working since the country started.
Right.
We didn't have a choice, men and women.
Right.
You're doing something. If you get sunburned because you're a little light skinned, you're working in the house.
Right.
It's what it is. And that translated out, Black women never had the luxury of stay at home.
Right.
Or very few Black women had the luxury of stay at home.
Right.
And
it just wasn't as common of an experience in the Black community as it was in the white community, especially when these like feminist movements were happening and like, or planting the seeds like in the 50s and 60s and whatnot. Black women were working because they had to work, you know, because of slavery.
Yeah,
We were poor.
we're so poor.
We're so poor. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is interesting then seeing that play out into like today when I look around even in my own family and other Black families that I see.
Right.
That like I come from a very like matriarchal family. Like the women are the ones who control things. They're in charge of shit, you know? Like I came from, and there were some aspects of like America Ferrera's speech and some things that I didn't necessarily like personally resonate with in the sense of like I didn't get necessarily the same messaging growing up because I looked around and like, you know, my grandmother's the matriarch of the family. She's like the head of like the family, and
we all conform to that.
Yeah, like and so a strong like feminine like woman was like the person who ran shit, and so it was like women empowerment. I already just like naturally had that on top of like I personally was fairly fortunate to be in a family and have like a father who had grew up with all girls, first of all, just a women ran house.
Right.
And
they didn't really have a choice.
Right, exactly. And on top of that, my dad just constantly instilling in us that, you know, we were beautiful, but we weren't just beautiful. We were smart and, you know, our brains mattered just as much as anything else. And like, we were taught to really stand up for ourselves and have a voice in a real way. And so you know, going out into the world, did I sometimes, for sure, have experiences where that was knocked down by men? I had an experience to kind of, you know, provide some context. I remember my first job in college. I worked at the what is it, cafeteria? What is it called?
Ant eatery.
The ant. Don't expose me like that.
The ant eatery.
Damn. Yeah, I was one of the freshmen who like scooped in your food into your plate or whatever. So I worked at like the cafeteria on campus, and we had a manager, and he just was clearly like just preferential and like such low stakes. First of all, we were working like we were literally all children working in college, serving food in the cafeteria. Whatever.
The stakes are on the floor.
Literally on the floor. And he just clearly favored like the guys that work there and not the girls, and would always make these kind of like comments, like microaggressions essentially, about me or to me, like. And I'm just like, that didn't really necessarily make sense. One that like comes to mind, I was wiping down the counters, and trust me, I know how to wipe down a counter.
Yeah, man,
my mom
been cleaning for a long time.
My mom taught me well. There was one thing, she made us clean. We scrubbed those baseboards like no dirt was left. Right. Like that. My mom, every Saturday we as a family had to clean the whole house. So I was taught how to clean. I know how to clean.
Good. All those bodies better be put to work. What do you mean?
No, literally slave labor.
Child slave labor too. That's crazy.
Horrible.
Oh
my God.
Honestly.
But anyways, I was wiping down these counters, and he comes up to me and he was like, "Oh, no. This is how you do it." He takes the rag from me and he wipes it. He's like,
he mansplained how to wipe a counter.
And not only that, he mansplained it by telling me like, it's like when you wipe off your makeup. This is how you do it. You know how when you wipe off your and I looked at him and I'm a freshman.
Right.
I literally have my self-confidence, none. I don't have any.
No voice, no nothing.
Right,
like,
exactly.
This man is really telling me this shit right now.
Exactly. And it was just like so like jarring in the moment where I was like, it was meaningless, right? Where it was like so small and like, well, maybe I took it the wrong way, but it was demeaning overall. And in general, like he would constantly do that where he would like show me how to do something and really show me how to do it, where I saw him like new guy just got hired and just fully expected him, just had full confidence in his abilities.
You got it, bro.
Right, exactly. Whereas like you felt like you had to hover over me, and it was just such a strange experience. So that to say, like not that I didn't have, when I went out into the world, these experiences where I was faced with like moments where men didn't think I was capable because I was a woman. But I was fortunate, like in my representation at home and in my immediate community, and within the Black community, that wasn't necessarily the case, that like women couldn't have a voice and like women couldn't have careers. All the women in my family were very career oriented, very smart women in my family. Smart, capable, went up in the world. And so that was what I saw. That was what was represented to me. So I didn't necessarily see it as heavily in my own personal life as maybe other women have. And we've also mentioned that we live in California.
Right.
We live in a bubble. We live in a little
nuanced expression of the real, even on any side of any issue that you were talking about. California is a pretty chill spot. Like, even like police brutality. Like the degree that we experience any of these like really like heavy political issues in comparison to other places, I don't think it compares. LA is just such like a diverse, and like people are just progressive and relatively accepting. Like people are rude and mean, but not because you're Black. It's because they think they're better than you.
They think they're better than you. Exactly.
The Black people too.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Because I think even you said, it's like in LA, it's like, it's an ego thing.
Yeah, it's an ego issue.
Yeah.
Everyone's just trying to be somebody.
Exactly.
And they hate you because you're also trying to be somebody.
Right. 100%. So it is interesting, like the things that we can resonate with or not resonate with. And we can only speak from our experience and our perspective. And even for myself, even though I am a woman, like the context in which I grew up in the community I grew up around, feeling fortunate in that maybe I was sheltered, for lack of a better word, from some of the experiences that someone maybe down like in the South like may have experienced, or like the Midwest, or even I don't know, anywhere else that we view as being like less progressive.
Arizona, next door.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, Arizona.
Who knows what's going on over there?
Nobody knows, and I do not want to know. I'm not going to find out. Anyway.
Whoa, are you good?
Stay right here.
Right. Oh
no,
my.
The fear.
Wow. No, that's how it was for me too. And I have the added layer of it being, I'm first generation, right? So not only is my entire family a maternal, like Afro-Latino type of family. Yeah. But whereas your family is very career, progressive, more westernized, they like really, they're the matriarchy that relishes in the traditional role. So it's like that other interesting layer. So they taught all my daughters and stuff like that cook, clean, do all that stuff, and really like appreciate it, and like the value of what it means to really have that. To be like the nurturer, the caregiver. Exactly. Yeah. And they all had their jobs too, because teachers, this, that, the salesman, all this stuff. But they were really like super women in my eyes, because they did both, and they did it perfectly with very little like complaint. Now they complain to me now, I understand the complaints, but when I was growing up, I saw no negativity. It was just like, this is just how it is, and this is how it's supposed to be, and you have the ability to do both, and we're gonna beast everything. I'm like, wow. Yeah. That's so crazy. And that's, in my perspective, after I've learned the information about it, that is kind of how Black women have always had to be. So this speech, when you're over here talking about like, oh, women, this, that, and the other, this is another thing where I think especially liberal feminism kind of try to piggyback off the civil rights movement and all that stuff. White women trying to get a little more agency against their counterparts. Right? This has nothing to do with you. Like, and maybe, wow. What? I didn't actually connect this until just right now. Okay. So it's not the message, it's the messenger. Okay. Go on. Even in the Barbie movie, right? They were talking about how the message that they were trying to portray is really hard to portray if they're using Margot Robbie to portray it. Yeah. Maybe I don't hate all these things. Yeah. I hate who it's being told to and who's identifying with it. That being Barbie. The cis white picture perfect representation of femininity that is stereotypical but also like perfect in every way. The white feminism thing, and how because even we had, when we were fleshing out this part of like the episode, talking about how like why white feminism and why that feminist movement and sexual revolution happened
was because white women already had an up on literally everyone in society but white men, so they turned against them.
So they
too.
were bored and they were trying to figure out what else can we be equal to. You know what? Susie, I am kind of tired of him coming home and expecting me to cook. You already know I have a heart. I can't cook like that. What do you mean? What are spices? Nah, I mean, like, that's crazy. He should be cooking for me. Yeah, Beth, he should. He should be cooking for you. He should be cooking for me too. And then all of a sudden, now we're out in the streets.
Right.
Women's suffrage.
Because that was that was the only plight that white women had to deal with. Whereas like black women and like we were saying, black people were still dealing with the ramifications of slavery and inequality.
And like the stakes were so much higher.
Yeah.
So when you hear all that stuff like never be too old, never be too rude, like all those really absolutes, it's too hard, you can never fail, you can never show fear. Like sure, that might be true for women, but how much truer is that for a black woman who is still at the bottom of society in terms of all these situations, right? It's like, it's this plus some. So America Ferrera, of course she's POC, telling that to Barbie who's at the top for like 10 minutes in a movie that's full of white people.
Yeah.
I'm just like, nah, y'all don't understand. Let me tell you something real quick, because that's like, you don't know the half of it.
Right.
To even now, you guys are starting to feel the benefits of this situation. Yeah. And my people, my cousins, my sisters, they are really just, it's 1950 for them. It's the same thing. Yeah. And they're still struggling in that. Like, that to me is the absurdity. Yeah. That to me is the thing that I can't resolve within myself. That to me is the crux of the issue. Because like again, right? Talking to these people, how much of this do you experience in your day to day? Yeah. Because I know people that experience this plus some. Yeah. On a day to day level, and you guys are whining because of some idea you've attached yourself to. Yeah. That doesn't even operate in your vicinity. Like how many men are subjecting you? Suzanne. Shut the fuck up. If there's a Suzanne listening to this, she's gonna be so attacked.
She's like,
every time.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, Susie. I love you.
We love you, Susie.
It's fine.
It's just
it's so fine, but
no, that is like that's understandable. And that's kind of like a conversation that like, a lot of like POC feminists who exist in this space will talk about. Even in regards to like, you have like Emily Ratajkowski, whatever, how you pronounce her name, started a podcast. She's obviously, Emrata, there we go. She has a podcast. She wrote a book about her like experience in the industry. She's a very like, outspoken feminist woman, feminist white woman. And a lot of POC listen to her speak and they're like, it is such like the stereotypical white feminist take that has like no layer or nuance to it, that it's frustrating.
And maybe this entire movie was like that.
Maybe. I don't know. I can admit when I do not have enough knowledge on a subject where I haven't like studied it in a long time. Just kind of like the white feminist movement and the take on that and kind of how it was different. Like obviously beyond the things that we already talked about, kind of like the theoretical stuff that people like discuss like in academics.
I don't know enough about it either.
In that regard. Yeah. But
that question was more like, I wonder if that could be applied to
this movie,
the whole feminist narrative within the movie, right? Because if it applies to the speech and the speech was the point, then who knows how that plays out. I've never even heard Emrata's stuff, so I relate to it. But that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, it's not to say that white women do not experience misogynistic things. They obviously are scared at night as well, just as much as any other woman, that a man may attack them or experience a boss who doesn't like them because they're a woman, or like these things. That's not necessarily what we're talking about per se. But just...
Not to invalidate the whole white woman's female experience.
Right, exactly.
But just to add another layer
to the experience of other women. Exactly. I agree with this.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yep, we covered everything.
Yeah, we did.
What?
We really got that elbow grease in there.
Now I'm uncomfortable. Wonderful.
Yeah, I think that about covers it.
Yeah, very, very profound. Very profound movie. And according to society, again, polarizing hot takes. This could either be one of the most profound takes on the social feminist narrative of a modern day. And it's a great freaking movie.
Yeah.
That encompasses all the things that we've elaborated on in this conversation. Or it's a self-pleasuring, pandering dumpster fire of a movie that was just the worst thing for male-female dynamics, and it sets it back decades.
Wow. Well, that's a take.
It could either be one or the other. According to the internet,
the general.
That's not
public.
how I feel. Obviously, Renee, Jesus Christ!
I know.
Wow, 2 hours of that entire conversation, you still got to feel that.
I'm commenting on that. I'm like, well, that's a take.
Right.
That is a take.
Who knows?
Well,
Who knows?
But at the end of the day, though, either way, it got us and literally everyone talking.
Yeah.
As I said, like
Useful
we left that movie theater, both of us with our respective partners or people.
I have a partner now.
We left that theater and we both had sparked conversation in the car afterwards. And it sparked us wanting to talk about a whole episode worth of this.
The only thing I wish is that we didn't see that movie at freaking midnight so that we could have all had a freaking conversation about it together. But it's okay. Like you said, I would have ruined your vibe. And it's fine.
You would have ruined our flow. We were in a moment.
Yeah. And have your little fucking moments in your fucking relationship with your fucking boyfriend. I don't care.
Okay. For sure. Oh my gosh. Anyways.
Again, great movie. Very necessary. Very relevant.
Yeah. 100%.
Like I was saying, I don't think having things to say about it means that it isn't a necessary movie to have. Yeah. And like I said, I don't like it in the sense that it wasn't made for me. And I am not going to apologize for that. Like, I don't have to like it because it wasn't made for me. But I can still appreciate what they did and who it was for and why it is the way that it is. That ending little scene with Barbie talking to the creator, beautiful.
Yeah.
Could it have been better with America Chavez? Wrong America. America Ferrera. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it still was a beautiful. I was tearing up.
Yeah.
All the little references in the movie, hilarious. They made a freaking fascist joke that no one got.
Yeah, you were really upset about that no one in the theater laughed at it.
And it was so funny.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I'm a satire, meta humor fiend. Rick and Morty, my vibe, 100%.
Totally.
So that was like a treat for me.
Totally. Yeah.
But
the humor was good.
I don't think the resolution was optimal for relationships, which is what we've been focusing on. And that's really why I wanted to talk about it because, again, polarized.
Yeah.
This entire movie was like the felt like society's response to the red pill movement from the female perspective, right? So now the internet, Andrew Tate took the internet by storm, and now men are talking about all this stuff. So like, fine, let's make a blockbuster in response to all this stuff, and this is our side of it. Both valid, so both invalid at the same time, you know? Because they're missing the point, which is where we were going with this. Like, we need each other.
Yeah, we do need each other.
We need each other. And having more media that showcases that need from an equal and neutral perspective would be so helpful. Or even if you want to, like this movie did, called attention in such a dramatic way.
Yeah, like I still think like we can have both, like very like movies with strong feminist narratives. I would love to see more of that. And then I would also love to see more of like those come together, come to Jesus, sort of like where we rise above this like argument that we as society are having with one another, men v women.
It can even be even more powerful, like we were saying, if it was resolved within the feminist movement, in the feminist movie, because it being in and of itself is cool, but it being part of the narrative and like starting to be interwoven into the conversation now that feminism isn't what it was when it started.
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
I think is even more important than having movies that showcase that, having movies that are for men, having movies that are for women. The nuance within each of those movies so that it can start to brainwash people to where they're supposed to be.
To where we want them to be.
Exactly. Maybe we should start making movies. That's the conclusion.
We're not just going to be film snobs.
We're going to be directors.
That's actually what the conclusion of this little Barbie
I would be a great
episodes.
director, though. That's the thing.
Sure.
I would be such a great movie director.
You definitely have an eye for an aesthetic.
I sure do.
So I think in that regard, like in terms of like cinematography.
Oh, so you don't think my messaging would be good?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I would have to see. I haven't seen you like play out those skills. I've only seen the skills of your eye for an aesthetic. So I would have to be determined.
This podcast is a representation of my messaging. Thank you very much. So open your eyes.
We can all write an essay.
That's what this is.
No, that's what I'm saying. We can write an essay, but
my essays are really good.
Can you apply that to like a film messaging that's like really impactful? Who knows? Not everyone can.
Well, I think I can. I don't need your validation. What do you mean? I would be great at this. I'm going to do it just to prove you wrong. Out of spite. Honestly. I'm going to be the best director on the planet.
And I want to see it. I got you. I'm right here. I'm waiting. All right.
Oh my God. But yeah, that's the conversation. That's all we have to say about it.
That's all we got to say.
Let us know what you thought about it. That was a long one. We're going to split that up.
Let us know your concept. You never asked the question.
I did ask the question. I just interwove it into the
Can you reiterate for me? Because I literally missed it.
I said, this is the nature of the question I'm going to ask at the end. How practical is the America Ferrera speech from the movie?
Got you. Yeah.
As a woman, do you feel that you relate to the things that she was saying on a personal level? Because I'm genuinely curious. I do not know how much it applies as a concept. Yes, it applies, but as a tangible situation that you exist in, I don't know. Yeah. So does America Ferrera's, her name is,
American Ferrera.
Yeah.
It's the last name.
America Ferrera. Does America Ferrera's speech resonate with you, and do you think it applies to your daily life? Boom. That's my question. Let me know what you think.
That's all, folks.
That is all. Check out all these fun little questions and all that stuff on our social media, because we will put it on there. You can comment. You can say if you love it and if you think we're full of shit. I love that too, because those negative comments gives me fuel to keep going.
Bad press is good press.
Yeah, and I think probably by now we'll start releasing these episodes on YouTube too. So
yeah, we really have our social media fully going at we.theintellectuals. So check us out. TikTok.
I want to say we.theintellectuals.com. So
.com.
Yeah, okay,
like, you can make it happen.
I really could.
You can make it happen. A reference to Jem's alter ego. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. I definitely could make that happen. I don't want to make that happen. Not right now.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But either way, people check out our social medias.
Check it out. Let us know what you think. Comment on these questions. Interact with us.
Yeah. And we talk about a little bit more on there. We include a little bit extra content on there as well.
Exactly. So, but after all is said and done, long ass conversation.
Yeah, we're finally at the end of it.
So good. Sound like you hated it.
I know. I'm really happy. It was very fulfilling.
Yeah. But at the end of all, when it's all said and done, I'm Jem.
And I'm Renee.
And we're the Intellectuals signing off until next time.
Bye.
Get those